Chapter 58-26. The smile on Jing Tianqing's face froze a little, and a trace of embarrassment and annoyance flashed across his face. However, he immediately stood up and wanted to catch up with Li Xiaoyi. However, when he saw Li Xiaoyi walking straight to Lin Yi, he was at a loss. His old man and second uncle had repeatedly warned him not to provoke Lin Yi, but Li Xiaoyi had been there. Should he follow her or not? Before he could figure out the answer to this question, Jing Tianqing's body had already made a choice. He took a few quick steps and caught up with Li Xiaoyi. Master Li Xiao, what are you doing here? Lin Yi is an enemy of our Dan Hall, and he is cruel and merciless. Be careful that he doesn't kill you. Jing Tianqing leaned over to Li Xiaoyi and whispered to her. Unfortunately, Li Xiaoyi didn't want to pay attention to him at all. She moved a little to the side expressionlessly, meaning that she didn't like Jing Tianqing getting too close. Jing Tianqing was a little embarrassed, but he was used to this degree of disregard. It was not a big deal. Li Xiaoyi came to stand beside Lin Yi and said coldly, Lin Yi, I have some questions to ask you. Come with me. Lin Yi looked up at her and said lightly, I don't have time. Please go ahead. Jing Tianqing thought that this was a rare opportunity. He immediately stood up and scolded angrily, Lin Yi, don't be so shameless. You haven't even settled the debt of offending our Dan Hall. Now Master Li Xiao wants to ask you some questions, and you dare to make things difficult for him? What are you? Does the Dan Hall belong to you? Lin Yi's face was full of sarcasm, and then he said coldly, Don't bother me or you will know the consequences. Jing Tianqing was shocked. Only then did he remember that Lin Yi's fierceness was not something he could contend with. Even Shi Jun, who was at the peak of profound ascension, was defeated. How could he, a guy at the early Yuanying stage, challenge Lin Yi? Sure enough, the strategy of not provoking Lin Yi for the time being was correct. He should be obedient. Li Xiaoyi didn't pay attention to what Jing Tianqing and Lin Yi were saying at all. She thought for a moment before continuing, Since you don't have time, I'll ask here. What caused Shi Jun's condition? What kind of pill could save him? Or do you have such a pill formula? I can use other pill formulas to exchange with you. Lin Yi waved his hand to interrupt Li Xiaoyi. This chick either didn't speak or she talked non-stop. Didn't she know that she and Lin Yi were enemies? Of course, Lin Yi did not regard her as an enemy. He just felt that this chick was a little strange. I said I'm not free, so I won't answer any of your questions. Also, Shi Jun has nothing to do with me anymore. Don't mention anything about him to me in the future. Lin Yi said unceremoniously. He didn't have any ill feelings towards Li Xiaoyi, but he also didn't have any good feelings towards her, so he didn't want to have any interaction with her. Li Xiaoyi wasn't angry. She just nodded and said, Well, since you're not free, forget it. I heard that you're also a mystic first-level alchemist. If there's anything you don't understand in alchemy, you can ask me. I might find time to give you some pointers. After that, without waiting for Lin Yi to answer, she turned and left calmly, leaving Lin Yi looking at her back, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This chick was really conceited. She knew that he was a mystic first-level alchemist, but she still dared to say that she would give him pointers. What level was her alchemy skills at? How old was she? Was there really such a genius alchemist? However, Lin Yi didn't care. His alchemy method was different from everyone else's. As long as Han Jingjing was there, he could constantly upgrade the automatic alchemy system. Alchemy was not difficult at all. After this little episode, Shang Wani didn't continue to chat with Lin Yi. Soon he left with Shang Yuhua. Although Wei Xinjin was a little reluctant, he was already very satisfied with the current situation. Today Shang Yuhua chatted with him in a very normal tone. It was really just 2 sentences. One of them was a greeting before leaving, but it was obviously many times better than yesterday's cynicism. For this point, Lin Yi said that he had nothing to say. If Wei Xinjin liked to giggle, then let him giggle. He hoped that Shang Yuhua would like his giggle one day. After sending Wei Xinjin back to his room, Lin Yi went to the deck alone. After a day of sailing, Middle Island had long disappeared without a trace. In his sight, except for the other 4 treasure ships, there was only the beautiful scenery of the sea and the sky under the faint night sky. Lin Yi's divine sense spread out, wanting to see if Languza was cruising nearby. However, he couldn't find any trace of Languza within the range of his divine sense. It seemed that this guy was having too much fun after entering the sea. Previously, Lin Yi was still worried that Languza's strength wasn't strong enough, but after thinking about it, the strength of his consciousness should be considered to be far stronger than the sea beasts on Sky Stage Island. Adding on the sea dragon's racial advantage, normal sea beasts of the mountain opening period probably wouldn't be his opponent. As long as he didn't go to the deep sea to look for those strong existences, he probably wouldn't be in any danger. Moreover, the ancient warship and the treasure ship were huge targets, he shouldn't have lost them. Brother Lin, did you come here to look at the scenery? Why didn't you come and have a drink with me? Okuda Ba walked over from the bridge and greeted him with a smile from afar. Lin Yi withdrew his divine sense from the sea, turned around and said with a smile, Brother Okuda, I was afraid of disturbing you, so I came here to enjoy the wind. Forget about drinking, I just ate. Okuda Ba walked over and pointed at Lin Yi. Brat, why are you being so polite with me? Did you forget that you are still the honorary vice captain of this ancient battleship? You can do whatever you want on this ship. After saying that, Okuda Ba felt a bit regretful. He had actually forgotten that Lin Yi had this identity. That sure Jun dared to sneak attack the honorary vice captain on the ship, so it wouldn't be too much to deal with him. If Zheng Dongjue brought up the Maritime Shipping Association again, Okuda Ba wouldn't be worried. The honorary vice captain position had been reported. With this identity, the Maritime Shipping Association absolutely wouldn't be biased towards the pill hall. Brother Okuda, don't tell me that you want me to do something, so you specifically reminded me that I am your honorary vice captain? Lin Yi said with a laugh. He was just talking nonsense, but he didn't expect Okuda Ba to really agree. That's right. I didn't have this idea at first, but Brother Lin, you reminded me. Okuda Ba smiled like an old fox that had stolen a chicken. There is something that I really need your help with. Of course, if you don't have the time, you don't have to force yourself. Chapter 58-27. Okuda Ba was overjoyed. Of course you can help. Actually, this matter doesn't have to be done right now, I'm just telling you in advance. You've already heard about the Maritime Association. Anyone who makes a living in the seas, as long as they aren't pirates, will be under the jurisdiction of the Maritime Association. Every once in a while, the Maritime Association will have a competition for the distribution of the sea routes. This year's competition will start shortly after the auction. Lin Yi suddenly said, I understand, Brother Okuda wants me to help you participate in the competition for the distribution of the sea routes? Let me say this first, I don't know much about this, so don't blame me if I can't help you. Brother Lin is too modest, you're the most talented maritime expert I've ever seen. If you can't help me, then no one can help me. Okuda Ba laughed and said. Lin Yi's first performance was still fresh in his memory. Not to mention the matter of the lookout, controlling the starfall array to repel the sea dragon was amazing. Just thinking about it made him excited for a long time. Only Lin Yi knew that it wasn't him who did it. If it wasn't for the ghost's help, he wouldn't have known about the starfall array. Thinking about the ghost, Lin Yi realized that he hadn't paid attention to whether the ghost had woken up or not after returning to the Heavenly Island. He hurriedly contacted in his mind, Senior Azure Dragon, are you awake? What do you think? You stinking brat, are you hoping that I won't wake up? The ghost said lazily, but the strong resentment in its words made Lin Yi blush with shame. It seemed like Jiao Yazi had used a similar tone last time, right? Old people need people to take the initiative to care for them. Brother Okuda, let's talk about this matter first. When the competition for the sea route starts, I'll go with you. I won't be accompanying you for now, I just thought of an alchemy problem, I need to go back and test it. Lin Yi didn't have time to talk to Okuda Ba, he hurriedly said goodbye and ran back to his room. Lin Yi hadn't expected it before, but now that the ghost had woken up, of course, he had to have a good chat with it. After all, it was his mentor and helpful friend who could provide him with many useful suggestions. Ba Okuda smiled and waved at Lin Yi. He didn't mind Lin Yi being in a hurry. After all, he had already gotten the results he wanted. Other details weren't important. After Lin Yi returned to his room and sat down, he said solemnly, Senior Azure Dragon, I haven't been able to contact you for a long time after I went to the secular world. I didn't think of you after I came back. I'm really sorry. It doesn't matter. You don't need me now anyway. The ghostly thing snorted. Obviously it didn't really matter. Lin Yi secretly laughed. Sure enough, this ghost was similar to Jiao Yazi. Unfortunately, Jiao Yazi couldn't appear on Heaven Stage Island. Otherwise, the two of them could be companions and chat when they had nothing to do. How is that possible? I went to the secular world because I didn't have Senior with me. That's why it was so difficult. If you were always by my side, I would be much more relaxed. Lin Yi's words weren't nonsense. Although it was a bit exaggerated to say that it was difficult, with the ghost around, it would indeed be more relaxing. The ghostly thing cackled and finally said in a satisfied tone, You finally said something that makes sense. But I also know that you're trying to make me happy because you want me to help Okuda snatch the route, right? How could that be? I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. Senior, you still don't know me? Lenny grinned. He thought to himself, I'll speak the truth when I see the person speaking the truth, when I see the ghost speaking the truth, when it sees the person speaking the truth. Alright, let's not talk about these useless things. Kid, you've stirred up quite a bit of trouble in the secular world. You even brought back a sea serpent. That little guy's fleshly body is really not bad. If it weren't for your little brother, I would have taken over his body. The ghostly thing sighed, looking very regretful. Lenny suddenly broke into a sweat. Although he knew that the ghost was joking, he couldn't help but break into a cold sweat for Languza. If the ghost really wanted to possess him, Languza really wouldn't be able to resist in the space of the jade pendant. The ghost was an absolute powerhouse in the aspect of spirit. The strength of Languza's divine sense wasn't even on par with the strength of his body. How could he be a match for the ghost? Senior, Languza is only a sea dragon. Even if you take over his body, you won't be able to display your might. Even if you want to take over someone's body, I think it should at least be that sea dragon from last time. Lenny thought of the power of the sea dragon he saw last time. He really felt that if the ghost could possess such a body, its strength could at least recover 70% to 80%. The ghost laughed and said, Alright, you go catch him and let me possess him. I'll leave this task to you. Forget it, the body that is possessed is ultimately not as good as our own. We have to pursue perfection. Lenny decisively changed the topic. Not to mention that he was only at the peak of the mysterious ascension late stage. Even if he was at the peak of the mountain opening late stage, he probably wouldn't be able to withstand a single swipe from the sea dragon. It was better to think of other ways. It just so happens that when I went to the secular world this time, I found a place called the ancient small Jianghu. It is said that there is a heavenly material and earthly treasure called the purple mist lotus that can perfectly reshape the body. Unfortunately, I didn't find the exact place. I'll go look carefully next time. If you didn't find it, why are you talking to me? The ghost said very discontentedly. The purple mist lotus was a good thing, but if you didn't get it, it was still a fake. Senior, this time there is a piece of soul cultivation wood being auctioned in the extreme north island. I'm going to buy it for you to nourish your soul. This thing is useful to you, right? Lenny patted his forehead and once again used the great method of changing the topic. In fact, when he heard about the soul cultivation wood, the first thing he thought of was the ghost, but he didn't contact him. He was really a little dumbfounded. Of course it's useful. At least you still have a conscience. I also know that you lost your soul because of that little girl Han Jingjing, so I'm a magnanimous adult and won't argue with you. The ghost said it generously, but Lenny thought about its tone at the beginning. It didn't sound like a magnanimous adult. However, listening to its words, Lenny knew that it already knew that he wanted to buy the soul cultivation wood. This ghost was really cunning. It obviously woke up, but it didn't take the initiative to talk to him. It had the same character as Jiao Yazi. Chapter 58-28. Knowing that Lenny really cared about Han Jingjing, the ghost thing also became serious and solemnly said, In my experience, Han Jingjing's soul is probably trapped in a certain place, but it should not be in the secular world. Perhaps it is in some kind of space channel between the Heaven Stage Island and the secular world. In this case, if you want to use the spirit gathering branch to retrieve her soul, it should be a good idea, but whether it can work or not depends on her own ability. Lenny rubbed his forehead in distress. The ghost thing couldn't give an accurate opinion, but at least he had a guess. In any case, with the ghost thing beside him, he felt that it would be easier to find Han Jingjing's soul. By the way, the spirit tempering pill you refined is good. I'll take a few myself. It can help me recover faster. The ghost thing wouldn't be polite to Lenny. Before Lenny didn't think of it, it didn't say anything, but now it didn't matter. It just said hello to Lenny, and the rest was not something Lenny needed to worry about. If you need it, just take it yourself, there's no need to be polite with me. Lenny said indifferently. The number of spirit tempering pills was enough to use. In the case of limited use, he really couldn't use a few. It was estimated that the ghost thing was the same. But if the spirit tempering pill was effective for the ghost thing, then the spiritual knowledge fruit should also have an effect, right? Why didn't the ghost thing mention it? Senior, I still have spiritual knowledge fruit here, it's also useful for your soul, right? If you need it, just take it. The ghost thing snorted and said, You brat, you are really wasting God's gifts. The spiritual knowledge fruit is good to use directly, but if it can be refined into a pill, the effect will be better. Of course, I know that the spiritual knowledge fruit is useful to me, but this thing is the same as the spirit tempering pill. It can only be used once in a big level, and the more you use it, the worse the effect. I don't want to waste this treasure, let's wait until you refine the pill. The spiritual knowledge fruit can also be refined into a pill? Linny really wanted to cry but had no tears. It was terrible to be uneducated. It was no wonder that even after eating so many spiritual knowledge fruits, his spiritual knowledge did not jump by a few levels. Although most of them were used to refine the tumors on his spiritual knowledge, many of the medicinal efficacies were directly absorbed. Therefore it was very important to have an experienced ghost by his side. Those precious experiences were definitely not something that could be obtained easily. Senior, do you have the pill recipe for the spiritual knowledge fruit? If there was a pill formula, Lin Yi could immediately start trying to refine pills. He was currently at the peak of the late stage of profound ascension, and if everything went well he might be able to break through to the profound ascension great circle. Unfortunately, the ghost simply shook his head and said, "No, but I can tell you that the pill used to refine the spiritual knowledge fruit is called Divine Accumulation Pill, which is a higher level than the Spirit Tempering Pill. The difficulty of refining it is probably between the Profound Rank 1 and Profound Rank 2. With your Shinnon Cauldron, there is no difficulty in refining it as long as you can find the pill formula." Linny could not help but smile bitterly. The most difficult thing for him to refine pills was to obtain the pill formula. Now everything was ready, but this matter could not be rushed. Later he would ask Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang to see if there was any news of the Divine Accumulation Pill. "Okay, I won't talk nonsense with you. You don't have to come to me if there's nothing important. I'll take a few of your spirit tempering pills and go into closed-door cultivation," the ghost said with a smile. Lin Yi's current strength was enough to protect himself, so he was not worried about any sudden incidents. Linny was also speechless. "I don't have to come to you if there's nothing important?" Then who was the one who had a bitter face and blamed him for not looking for him earlier? After ending the chat with the ghost, Linny had nothing else to do. He could only continue to refine pills. Before going to the extreme North Island he needed to refine more pills. Another day passed. Lin Yi put away the Shinnon Cauldron and was ready to give the agreed spirit tempering pill to Ho Guanqi so that he could begin to temper his spiritual sense. The effect of taking it for the first time was the best. Moreover, the strength of Ho Guanqi's spiritual sense was still very low. It was estimated that the first time could have a qualitative leap. When he went out today he did not see Wei Xinjin waiting for him. When he swept with his spiritual sense, he found that this kid was already in the restaurant. There was no doubt that Shang Yuhua was also eating in the restaurant, but he did not sit with the Shang father and daughter. Without Lin Yi by his side, Wei Xinjin did not have the courage to take the initiative to talk to Shang Yuhua. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. He had already helped Wei Xinjin to the limit. Whether he could succeed or not depended on himself in the future, so he did not plan to go to the restaurant. Looking up at Ho Guanqi's room there was a restriction, but there was no "do not disturb" sign, so Lin Yi directly went over and touched the restriction. Soon Ho Guanqi came over and opened the door. After seeing Lin Yi, he suddenly showed a smile on his face. "Brother Lin, how come you have time to come over today? Come in, junior brother Kai is here too, let's have a chat." "Thank you brother Ho, it's good that brother Kai is here too, it saves me from having to make another trip." Lin Yi smiled and cupped his fists, then slowly walked into the room. Kai Zhongyang also came out, and when he saw Lin Yi, he was very enthusiastic and cupped his fists. "Brother Lin, is there something you need from me? If there's anything, just say it." "Brother Kai." Lin Yi smiled and greeted him, then walked inside and sat down. After Ho Guanqi poured a cup of spirit tea for him, he said, "Today I came over because the pill that Brother Ho asked me to refine has been completed, so I specially came to deliver it to Brother Ho." "It's done so quickly?" Ho Guanqi said with some surprise. Although he knew that Lin Yi's alchemy speed was very fast, he didn't expect it to be this fast. After all, he needed 10 soul-tempering pills, and listening to Lin Yi's words he wanted to give a few to Kai Zhongyang. This was really not a joke, an ordinary alchemist could refine 2 pills in 2 days. Lin Yi smiled slightly, took out 2 jade bottles that he had prepared, one big and one small, handed the big one to Ho Guanqi and the small one to Kai Zhongyang. Kai Zhongyang didn't care, took the jade bottle with a smile and said, "I also have one? Thank you brother Lin, let me see what pill it is." "It's a soul-tempering pill." Lin Yi said carelessly. In the small jade bottle he put 2 soul-tempering pills. Originally he also wanted to give some to Kai Zhongyang, but if a large number of soul-tempering pills flowed out, it wouldn't be good for him. For the time being, 2 was enough for Kai Zhongyang. If he needed it in the future, it wouldn't be too late to give it to him. Kai Zhongyang's hand trembled, and the jade bottle almost flew out of his hand. It was obvious that he had heard of the name of the soul-tempering pill. After grabbing the jade bottle in a flurry, he held it tightly in his hand, not daring to let go easily. Chapter 58-29. The Best Quality Soul Tempering Pill. Kai Zhongyang didn't have time to thank Ho Guanqi for the time being. He opened the lid of the jade bottle and immediately closed it again. He looked at Lin Yi in shock and said, "Brother Lin, you are really amazing. You can actually refine the best quality soul tempering pill. With these 2 soul tempering pills, my divine sense will have earth-shaking changes." Then he remembered Lin Yi's words and turned to Ho Guanqi and said, "Big brother, I owe you this time. These 2 soul tempering pills are too precious. It's a pity that the good things this time are all auction items of 5 elements commerce. Otherwise I would have exchanged some things with you. If you need anything in the future, just tell me. I will try my best to help you find it." Ho Guanqi was mentally prepared in advance, but he was still very excited. He didn't open the jade bottle and directly put it away. He cupped his fists and said to Lin Yi, "Thank you, brother Lin." After that he said to Kai Zhongyang, "Junior brother Kai, don't listen to brother Lin's nonsense. What I got is my share. What you got is brother Lin's own. If you want to thank someone, thank brother Lin properly." "Are you 2 kidding me?" Kai Zhongyang laughed and immediately bowed to the 2 of them. "In any case, I, Kai Zhongyang, have benefited from both of you. We are all brothers. There is no need to say unnecessary words. Everything is in my heart." Lin Yi smiled and nodded, "That's right. We are all brothers. Being too polite will make us seem distant." Yes, junior brother Kai can see things clearly. I was too impulsive." Ho Guanqi laughed heartily as well. The already harmonious relationship between the 3 became even more intimate in an instant. After that, the topic revolved around elixir refinement. Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang both thought that Lin Yi was a mystic 1st level or even 2nd level elixir refiner. So they humbly asked Lin Yi questions about elixir refinement. Fortunately, Lin Yi had Zhang Liju's elixir refiner's notes. These 2's elixir refinement came from the same lineage. All the questions were basically covered in the notes. Lin Yi was able to answer them easily. After this conversation, Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang admired Lin Yi more and more. This feeling was like receiving Zhang Liju's personal guidance. Many questions were answered easily. Although they hadn't tried it yet, they could tell that their elixir refinement had improved significantly. "Brother Lin, listening to a wise man's words is better than studying for 10 years. Looks like we'll have to consult you more in the future. I hope you don't mind us bothering you," Ho Guanqi said emotionally. Now he was even more glad that he was able to be friends with Lin Yi. With Lin Yi's age and understanding of elixir refinement, in a few more years he might become another elixir god. Lin Yi sweated in his heart. His theoretical knowledge was quite rich, but it was all from Zhang Liju's elixir refinement notes. He had never tried it before. If it wasn't for Han Jingjing's automatic elixir refinement device, he might not be able to make a single elixir in his lifetime. It was just that these 2 didn't know about this. After Ho Guanqi finished, Kai Zhongyang added, "Brother Lin is definitely a good teacher to us. If you have time, why don't you take some time to give us some pointers? We'll be able to improve as well." "You 2 are too humble. We're all discussing and improving together. What's there to ask for pointers? I won't dare talk to you guys anymore." Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand, speaking half truth and half false. If it weren't for Zhang Liju's notes, he wouldn't have dared to talk to these 2 refiners like this. Wouldn't that be exposing his own weakness? They had been chatting for about half an hour, and Lin Yi felt that it was about time to go back and continue his elixir refinement. However, at that moment, a rapid bell rang in the ancient warship, echoing through all the corridors. Even in the locked rooms there was a faint bell ringing. This level of sound was specially set up by the ancient warship. It wouldn't affect the training of the people in the rooms, but it would attract a certain amount of attention. It was pretty much the same as triggering the lock at the door. Ho Guanqi frowned. "What's going on? Is there some danger?" Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand. "Don't worry, brother Ho. This kind of bell isn't a danger signal. It means that there's someone on the ship who needs help. I've been a lookout on this ship before, so I'm very familiar with all kinds of signals." Kai Zhongyang breathed out in relief. As long as there's no danger, that's good. If there's someone who dares to attack this ship, they're definitely very strong. No matter what, there'll be huge casualties. I don't want that to happen. An ancient warship and 4 large treasure ships indeed wasn't something that just anyone would dare to attack. Even if there was a beast wave like the last time, they'd be able to deal with it easily. If there really was someone who dared to attack, they'd definitely have enough confidence. Ho Guanqi smiled. "You're worrying too much, brother Kai. Normal people wouldn't dare to attack Captain Okuda's ship. Brother Lin, should we go see who needs help? Linny shrugged. Go Brother Ho, I won't be going. There's a lot of people on this warship, I don't think I'll be needed. Just now, when I was talking with my two brothers about alchemy, I had a lot of enlightenment, so I'd like to go back and sort it out. If there's anything you need, Brother Ho can inform me at any time. There weren't many people on this ship that Linny cared about, and two of them were right in front of him, so he wasn't really interested in the person who needed help. Those who knew him all knew that if someone needed his help, they'd just go straight to him. If he heard the bell, he'd go take a look. Linny didn't have that much free time. Ho Guanqi nodded. Let's go take a look. If there's anything Brother Lin can do, can you help as much as you can? Kai Zhongyang reached out and hooked his arm around Ho Guanqi's shoulder. Eldest senior brother, you're really long-winded. Don't you know what kind of person Brother Lin is? Why are you saying such nonsense? Let's go, I'll go with you. If there's nothing important, I'll go back and study alchemy. Linny didn't mind and smiled. Don't worry, Brother Ho. If there's anything you need, I'll definitely help. As the three of them spoke, they had already left the room. Linny released his divine sense and saw that some people had already gathered on the deck. It seemed like there were quite a lot of warm-hearted people. In the world of cultivators, such a situation was rare. However, what surprised Linny was that the person who needed help was someone he knew, and their relationship was quite good. It was the Vice President of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, Shang Wani. To be continued. Chapter 58:30. Ning Qing did not know what was going on with Shang Wani. Half of his body was red while the other half was pale. His whole body was twitching slightly, moreover he had already lost consciousness. The situation seemed to be somewhat serious. Since something had happened to Shang Wani, Linny also wanted to go and take a look. After all, he was someone that he knew. Even if he could not help, he should at least show some concern. However, he found that Wei Xinjin, this kid, had already run up to the deck, and was currently at the side of Shang Yuhua asking about Shang Wani's situation in a low voice, causing him to hesitate for a moment whether he should go over or not. Because if Linny went over, then Wei Xinjin would definitely stand by his side. It was a rare opportunity to show off, as such Linny did not want to casually ruin it. Quietly using his spiritual consciousness to check on Shang Wani's situation, Linny basically understood what was going on. Shang Wani should have encountered some problems during his cultivation, leading to his current state of cultivation deviation. Although this state was very dangerous, but in a short period of time there would not be any new changes, Linny would not be able to help. As such he went back to his room. Senior, are you in seclusion? After returning to his room, Linny wanted to look for that ghostly thing to ask about Shang Wani's situation, whether or not it had any countermeasures, but that ghostly thing seemed to have really gone into seclusion. There was no response to his contact. Linny shook his head. He could only think of a way to solve Shang Wani's predicament by himself. If it was just an injury caused by cultivation deviation, then Lin Yi's all-purpose qi would be able to heal it, but the current situation was not so simple to solve. As such he had to continue to think of other ways. As for the situation on the deck, Linny was still paying close attention to it with his spiritual sense. Maybe someone else could find a way to help Shang Wani. Even if they couldn't succeed, they could at least provide some ideas. In the past 2 days, Wei Xinjin had gotten to know Yuhua Shang, so he had gotten an answer from Yuhua after asking questions. Now that almost everyone had arrived, he stood up and cupped his fists. Dear friends, I'm Wei Xinjin. This is Vice President Shang of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. I think everyone knows each other. Because Vice President Shang was not careful in her cultivation, an accident occurred. Is there anyone here who has medical skills and can help treat Vice President Shang? I'll definitely reward you handsomely after this. Shang Yuhua looked at Wei Xinjin in surprise. Was this the same Wei Xinjin that she thought was a little dull? Why did he speak like a completely different person? Originally, these words should have been said by Shang Yuhua, but she was a little confused. After simply saying it to Wei Xinjin, she focused on Shang Wani's condition and forgot her original intention. Fortunately, Wei Xinjin helped her to say it, otherwise the bell would just find a bunch of people to watch the fun. In the world of cultivators, under normal circumstances, no one would take the initiative to help without asking, unless the other party was alone and didn't even have the ability to ask. Now Shang Wani obviously had a family by his side. If Shang Yuhua didn't say it, even if others could help, they couldn't help, lest it caused some unnecessary misunderstandings. After Wei Xinjin finished speaking, the first one to come out was Zheng Dongxing. It was unknown whether he was really enthusiastic or had other ulterior motives. This old man is Zheng Dongxing from the medicine sect, a senior alchemist. I'm extremely proficient in medicinal properties and also dabbled in medical skills. Let this old man diagnose Vice President Shang's condition. Zheng Dongxing walked over and said proudly, but these words were said to Shang Yuhua. As for Wei Shenjin, he simply didn't want to pay attention to him. Zheng Dongxing had no interest in paying attention to Lin Yi's little brother. In fact, if it wasn't for Shang Wani lying on the ground, he wouldn't have taken the initiative to help. Shang Yuhua hurriedly bowed and said, Grandmaster Zheng's medical skills are naturally trustworthy. I ask Grandmaster Zheng to treat my father immediately. As for the consultation fee, please feel free to ask Grandmaster Zheng. As long as my father can be saved, this junior is willing to pay any price. Zheng Dongxing nodded with satisfaction and said, Miss Shang's filial piety is truly touching. Vice President Shang will definitely be safe and sound. After a few polite words, Zheng Dongxing half-squatted and began to examine Shang Wani. After a short while, he stood up with a dignified face and said, Vice President Shang indeed suffered from Qigong deviation during cultivation. Moreover, his situation is very special, it's not looking good. Shang Yuhua hurriedly said, Grandmaster Zheng, please think of a way to save my father. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to tell me. This junior will do her best to collect it. Zheng Dongxing slowly nodded and said, If this old man isn't wrong, Vice President Shang should have fire and water dual spiritual roots, right? Shang Yuhua hurriedly replied, That's right, my father does have fire and water dual spiritual roots, but there has never been any problem during cultivation. Fire and water dual spiritual roots are very rare. These are two completely opposite and conflicting spiritual roots. During cultivation, water and fire are incompatible, and a little carelessness can lead to Qigong deviation. Vice President Shang is really lucky that nothing has happened to him for so long. Of course, it could also be that Vice President Shang's mental cultivation method is extremely advanced, and can transform the incompatible water and fire into complementary water and fire. In this way the cultivation speed will be doubled, but it doesn't mean that there will be no Qigong deviation. This time there should be a problem. Zheng Dongxing stroked the beard on his chin and spoke frankly with the demeanor of a grandmaster, frightening the people around him. Shang Yuhua was anxious. These things weren't important, the most important thing was how to save her father. What was this Zheng Dongxing talking nonsense for? However, she still hoped that Zheng Dongxing would help, so she didn't dare to complain. When Zheng Dongxing finally finished speaking, Shang Yuhua hurriedly asked respectfully, Grandmaster Zheng, may I ask how to save my father? Vice President Shang's situation is very bad. Ordinary means are no longer of any use. Zheng Dongxing said while shaking his head. When Shang Yuhua's face showed more and more anxiety, he continued, For now, I'm afraid the only way to save Vice President Shang is to refine a yin and yang pill to harmonize yin and yang, and communicate with water and fire. Moreover, this yin and yang pill must be given to him within 24 hours. Otherwise even God can't save him. Shang Yuhua's complexion suddenly turned pale. She was the daughter of the All-Connection Chamber of Commerce's vice president. She was usually very knowledgeable, but she had never heard of a medicinal pill like the yin and yang pill. It was obviously a relatively obscure existence. Looking at Zheng Dongxing's manner of speaking, it was probably not something that could be easily refined. Chapter 58:31. With the last glimmer of hope, Yuhua asked with a trembling voice, Master Zheng, do you have the yin-yang elixir? If you don't, can you make it immediately? Zheng Dongxing said with a regretful face, The ingredients for the yin-yang elixir are very precious, and the method of making it is very special. I don't have the elixir here, it's such a pity, Vice Chairman Shang. Yuhua's face turned pale, and her body swayed slightly, almost falling to the ground. Zheng Dongxing was basically saying that Shang Wani couldn't be saved. Wei Shenjin quickly released a stream of qi to support Yuhua's body. He really wanted to do it himself, but in this situation even if Yuhua didn't mind, he couldn't do it. After Shang Yuhua stabilized her body, although she was grateful for Wei Shenjin's actions, she didn't think too much about it. Her mind was in a mess, thinking about the yin-yang elixir and elixir refiners. Wei Shenjin retracted his qi and cupped his fist at Zheng Dongxing. Master Zheng, may I know what the ingredients for the yin-yang elixir are? If you can gather them, can you make the elixir immediately? In fact, Wei Shenjin wanted to ask Lin Yi. After all, his boss was also a genius elixir refiner, even better than Zheng Dongxing. But since Zheng Dongxing was the one who brought it up, he couldn't just go around the old man and ask Lin Yi directly. This kind of behavior was quite taboo. If Zheng Dongxing couldn't do it, then it would be perfectly justifiable to ask Lin Yi. Unfortunately, what Wei Xinjin didn't know was that Lin Yi was paying attention to everything here. As for the yin yang elixir, Lin Yi really didn't know. In the end, it was because he didn't have enough knowledge. Zhang Liju's elixir refinement notes were mostly about his thoughts and experiences. It wasn't that there weren't any useful elixir recipes, but there weren't many of them. So most of the time Lin Yi had to find the recipe himself to make elixir. Zheng Dongxing snorted and looked at the sky at a 45-degree angle, completely disdainful of Wei Xinjin. With the grudge between Medicine Sect and Tiandan Pavilion, this kind of behavior was understandable. But Wei Xinjin was helping Yuhua ask the question, and this old man was a bit too ungentlemanly. Yuhua came back to her senses. She knew that Zheng Dongxing and Wei Xinjin's boss had a grudge against each other, so she quickly asked the same question as well. She didn't like Zheng Dongxing's behavior at all. Zheng Dongxing heard Yuhua's question and said faintly, "The main ingredients of the yin-yang elixir are the extremely rare yin core fruit and yangji grass. The supplementary ingredients are normal, and a normal elixir refiner would have a certain amount of them. As for making the yin-yang elixir, I've already said that the method of making it is extremely special, and it's impossible for one person to make it." Yuhua couldn't care less about the special method of making the elixir. She had to get the yin core fruit and yangji grass first before she could consider making the elixir. "Master Zheng, do you have yin core fruit and yangji grass? If you do, I'm willing to buy them with spirit jade or trade with other items." As Shang Yuhua spoke, she was calculating in her mind who else on this ship could possibly have these two kinds of elixirs, and what else could she have that she could use to exchange for them. With the current situation, even if someone had these two ingredients, it wouldn't be easy to trade for them. There would definitely be people who would take advantage of the situation to raise the price. Zheng Dongxing smiled meaningfully, then said faintly, "I do have a yin core fruit, but it's a pity that I don't have yangji grass. Anything I say is useless. Miss Shang, go find the yangji grass first, then come talk to me about the yin core fruit." Shang Yuhua's heart leaped with joy. She didn't think that Zheng Dongxing would have a main ingredient in his hands. If this was the case, then her hope was much greater. As long as she could find the yangji grass, her father might be able to be saved. "Fellow Taoists, may I ask who has yangji grass? I, Shang Yuhua, am willing to buy it for a high price. I also promise that the Universal Chamber of Commerce will do me a favor. As long as my father is saved in the future, if the Universal Chamber of Commerce needs anything, I will do my best to repay this favor." Shang Yuhua cupped her hands and bowed to the crowd. She could only hope that someone would really be able to bring out the yangji grass. In the crowd, Kai Zhongyang looked like he was struggling. He really did have a yangji grass, but this yangji grass was reserved by a customer from the far north island. It wasn't something that was going to be auctioned off. If it was an auction item, it wouldn't matter if he sold it to Yuhua. But if he couldn't bring out the item reserved by someone else, then the reputation of Five Elements Commerce would be ruined. Speaking of which, the Universal Chamber of Commerce was a competitor of Five Elements Commerce. Using something that was related to their reputation to save a competitor was something that most people wouldn't do. Kai Zhongyang also felt that a person's life was at stake. He shouldn't have anything to do with the identity of the other party, so he hesitated. Without waiting for Kai Zhongyang to make up his mind, Zheng Dongxing looked at him and smiled mysteriously. He said, "Miss Shang, I know who here has the yangji grass. As for whether or not he is willing to bring it out, it will depend on Miss Shang's methods and sincerity. Of course, forget about the face of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. They probably won't care about your favor." Sensing Zheng Dongxing's gaze, Kai Zhongyang's heart skipped a beat. Although the fact that he had the yang pole grass wasn't a secret, not many people knew about it. How did this old man know so much about it? Shang Yuhua was overjoyed. What she was most afraid of was that the boat didn't have the yangji grass. With their current position, they wouldn't be able to reach the shore within 24 hours. Even if they could buy it on the shore, it wouldn't be able to save Shang Wani's life. Since someone here had it, the only question was how much it would cost to buy it. "Master Zheng, please tell me who has the yangji grass?" Shang Yuhua held back her surprise and asked Zheng Dongxing urgently. Zheng Dongxing pointed at Kai Zhongyang and said with certainty, "Five Elements Commerce's Kai Zhongyang definitely has the yangji grass. As for how much, I'm not sure." With these words, it was easy to think that Kai Zhongyang had more than one yangji grass. At least, that was what Shang Yuhua thought. Therefore, she was even more confident that she could trade for the yangji grass. "President Kai, if you really have the yangji grass, please sell it to me. Just name the price. I, Shang Yuhua, will not bargain." Shang Yuhua quickly walked in front of Kai Zhongyang and bowed solemnly. Although the two chambers of commerce were competitors, there wasn't any deep hatred between them. Shang Yuhua didn't think that Kai Zhongyang would leave her in the lurch. After all, they were doing business. If someone wanted to buy it, wouldn't he take the opportunity to sell it for a good price? Chapter 58-32. Lin Yi, who was in the room, was a little surprised. He didn't think that Kai Zhongyang would be dragged into this. Furthermore, he didn't say that he had the yang pole grass right away, so there must be a reason why he didn't help Shang Wani. Because of this, Lin Yi had a strange feeling in his heart. On the deck, facing Shang Yuhua's eager eyes, Kai Zhongyang could only smile bitterly and say, "Miss Shang, I do have a yang pole grass. It's not that I don't want to sell it to you, but this yang pole grass is reserved by someone else. It's not for auction. If I give it to you, you know what the consequences will be." Shang Yuhua's face paled. She also ran a chamber of commerce, so of course she knew the consequences of reselling a customer's reserved item. No matter how high the price, there was no way to make up for the loss of reputation. To put it bluntly, Kai Zhongyang suspected that the Universal Chamber of Commerce was deliberately using this method to ruin the reputation of the Five Elements Commerce. But asking him to take out the yang pole grass was indeed a bit too much. "Chairman Kai, I know this will make things difficult for you, but as you can see, my father's life is in danger. He's just waiting for the yang pole grass to save his life. The Universal Chamber of Commerce will bear all the consequences of this. When we reach the far north island, whether it's the compensation or the explanation to the customer, I'll take care of it. Also, the price of the yang pole grass will be decided by you, Chairman Kai. I only ask that you save my father's life." At the end of her sentence, Yuhua's eyes were filled with tears. Kai Zhongyang was in a very difficult position. If Zheng Dongxing hadn't pointed out that he had the yang pole grass, then perhaps he would have agreed to Shang Yuhua's request. However, because of Zheng Dongxing's malicious gaze, Kai Zhongyang couldn't help but feel uneasy. Kai Zhongyang really couldn't bring himself to cut off Shang Yuhua. Although he was a businessman, he was also a soft-hearted person. "Haha, Vice Chairman Kai, you really have a cold heart. That little girl is already begging you, and yet you still won't budge. Are you afraid that the price is too low? You want her to give you the price herself?" Zheng Dongxing made sarcastic remarks on the side, which made Kai Zhongyang more certain that there must be a problem, but he didn't know where the problem was. Ho Guanqi sighed in his heart, but he didn't know what to say. He wanted to save Shang Wani, but he knew that Kai Zhongyang was in a difficult position. If he tried to persuade Kai Zhongyang, he would definitely listen to him. But that wasn't the result he wanted. After being reminded, Yuhua immediately said, "Chairman Kai, I am willing to pay 500,000 spirit jades for the yang pole grass. I will also take care of all the aftermath. At the same time, the Universal Chamber of Commerce still owes you a favor." The surrounding crowd couldn't help but gasp. 500,000 spirit jades was definitely a large sum. Although not many people knew about the yin-yang pill, there were still those who had heard of it. They had already spread the news to those who didn't know about it. This type of pill was more troublesome to refine, but it was still a yellow level 7 pill. Normally it would sell for 70 to 80,000 spirit jades at most, and that was if it was a completed pill. Yang pole grass was one of the main ingredients of the yin-yang pill, so its value could not be compared to a completed pill. Although the yang pole grass was an extremely rare spirit herb, its normal selling price was at most 10,000 spirit jades. In a normal auction, it would be considered a sky-high price if it was sold for 20 to 30,000 spirit jades. Yet, Shang Yuhua had asked for 500,000 spirit jades and even promised to take care of all the loose ends. Furthermore, she had even done Kai Zhongyang a favor. The surrounding crowd even had the thought of killing Kai Zhongyang and robbing him. "Miss Shang, you know that this isn't a matter of the amount of spirit jades." Kai Zhongyang smiled bitterly as he shook his head. Before he figured out Zheng Dongxing's intentions, he wouldn't dare agree to Yuhua's request. "Miss Shang, he thinks that your price is too low," Zheng Dongxing said in a neutral tone, but deep down he was feeling great. If he could deal with someone close to Lin Yi, no matter who it was, he would be very happy. Wei Shinjin didn't wait for Yuhua to raise the price again. He stood in front of her and said to Kai Zhongyang, "Chairman Kai, I really need your help this time. There won't be only one yang pole grass. When we pass by the northern island, we can go up there and search. Maybe we can find another yang pole grass for you to bring to the client. But Chairman Shang can't wait until we reach the northern island. A human life is at stake, so I hope Chairman Kai can consider it." Kai Zhongyang looked at Wei Shinjin with slight surprise. He didn't have to give face to Yuhua Shang, but Wei Shinjin was Lin Yi's little brother. No matter what, he couldn't refuse Lin Yi. Not to mention that Lin Yi had just given him 2 spirit-tempering pills. Their previous friendship was not something that could be measured by a mere young pole grass. Shang Yuhua looked at Wei Shinjin in surprise. Today Wei Shinjin seemed to be completely different from before. He was calm, decisive, and considerate. Well, that wasn't important. What was important was that Shang Yuhua suddenly remembered that Lin Yi was Wei Shinjin's boss, and that Kai Zhongyang and Lin Yi were good friends. Maybe Wei Shinjin's words could really make Kai Zhongyang change his mind? Shang Yuhua, who had been slowly losing hope, suddenly had hope again. However, Wei Shinjin suddenly said, "Chairman Kai, this is my own request. It has nothing to do with boss Lin Yi. Although I really hope that you can agree to sell the yang pole grass, I don't want it to be because of boss." Shang Yuhua didn't know how to describe her feelings. Was she calling Wei Shinjin an idiot? With Lin Yi's face, he actually didn't want it. Moreover, he didn't even need to say anything. Kai Zhongyang would have considered it himself, but he just had to open his mouth and make such a statement. But it was precisely this kind of Wei Shinjin that made Shang Yuhua feel that he was very responsible. A responsible man would not be bad no matter what. The problem was that if Kai Zhongyang refused to sell the yang pole grass because of this, Shang Yuhua wasn't sure if she would hate Wei Shinjin. Maybe she would, maybe she wouldn't. Fortunately, Shang Yuhua didn't need to think about the answer to this question, because Kai Zhongyang had nodded. "Little Wei, you underestimate yourself too much. Even if I don't give Brother Lin face, do you think I'll ignore you? We've interacted a lot these past 2 years. Don't tell me you don't see me as your friend? You're actually calling me Chairman Kai?" Kai Zhongyang stared hard at Wei Shinjin, then took out a small, thin and flat jade box and handed it to Wei Shinjin. "This is my yang pole grass. I'm giving it to you. Take it. Don't mention the spiritual jade. It'd be best if the North Island has it, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't. I can handle this myself. You don't need to interfere." Since Kai Zhongyang had made up his mind, he cast aside all his worries and spoke casually to Wei Shinjin and Shang Yuhua. To be continued. Chapter 58-33. Shang Yuhua didn't expect the situation to change so quickly. She didn't know how to react for a moment. After hearing Kai Zhongyang's words, she immediately bowed and said, "Chairman Kai, thank you for saving my life. Everything I said before is valid. I will give you the spirit jades immediately." Kai Zhongyang waved his hand and said, "I said that this is for little Wei. If you bring up the spirit jades again, return the yang pole grass to me. I, Kai Zhongyang, won't go so far as to ruin the reputation of 5 Elements Commerce for some spirit jades. But for a friend it doesn't matter." Jing Dongxing, who was at the side, smiled darkly. He seemed to be very satisfied with the yang pole grass that Kai Zhongyang took out, so he didn't say anything else to provoke him. "Thank you, Chairman Kai. When my father wakes up, he will definitely pay a visit to thank you." Shang Yuhua didn't say anything else. Right now, the most important thing was to refine the yin yang pill to save Shangwani. Everything else could be put aside. Wei Shinjin didn't thank Kai Zhongyang too much. Some things couldn't be done with just a word of thanks. That's why there's a saying that great kindness can't be expressed with words. As for Kai Zhongyang's gratitude, he would only remember it in his heart. When there's a chance in the future, he will definitely repay it. After passing the jade box to Shang Yuhua, Wei Shinjin looked at Jing Dongxing. Now that he had the yang pole grass, it was time to see what this old man would say about the encore fruit. Shang Yuhua walked a few steps forward and arrived in front of Jing Dongxing and said, "Grandmaster Jing, this junior has already obtained the yang pole grass. Can we discuss the price of the encore fruit now?" Jing Dongxing stroked his beard with the demeanor of an expert and said, "Seeing your filial piety, I will sell the encore fruit to you according to the market price. 10,000 spirit jades will do." When these words were said, not only was Shang Yuhua surprised, but everyone else at the side didn't think that after the yang pole grass had already appeared, Shang Yuhua's desire for the dark core fruit didn't need to be said. Just now, the yang pole grass was priced at 500,000 spirit jades. Now, even if Jing Dongxing called out a sky-high price of 1,000,000 spirit jades for the dark core fruit, Shang Yuhua would still readily agree. But Jing Dongxing actually asked for a market price of 10,000 spirit jades. In fact, it was even cheaper than the market price. If it was brought to an ordinary auction, it would fetch at least 20,000 spirit jades. Could it be that this Jing Dongxing was really a good person of noble character and unquestionable integrity? Wei Shinjin expressed that he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Shang Yuhua didn't say anything and immediately took out a red spirit jade card and handed it to Jing Dongxing. This was a spirit jade storage card that the Heavenly Island Commerce Alliance had introduced to facilitate settlement. The red color represented 10,000 spirit jades. In addition, there were orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue and purple, which represented 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, 1 million, 5 million, and 10 million spirit jades respectively. Zheng Dongxing didn't go back on his word. After receiving the spirit jade card, he readily handed the jade box containing the Yin core fruit to Shang Yuhua. After Shang Yuhua received the Yin core fruit, she used both hands to bring it to Zheng Dongxing along with the yang pole grass and said, "Grandmaster Zheng, I will have to trouble you to help me refine a yin yang pill. If my father is able to wake up, he will definitely reward you greatly." "Miss Shang, didn't I already say it? The yin yang pill's refining method is very special. This old man can't refine it," Zheng Dongxing said with an innocent face. Hearing this, Shang Yuhua suddenly felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Thinking about it carefully, Zheng Dongxing seemed to have really said so. But before, he didn't even have the materials, so it was meaningless to say anything else. But now that he had the main ingredient, he couldn't refine it. Wasn't it still the same? Wei Shinjin just wanted to speak, but Zheng Dongxing comforted her. "Miss Shang, don't worry. This old man can't refine it for a reason. It doesn't mean that others can't refine it. Please guide me, Grandmaster Zheng." Shang Yuhua's hope rose again, and she quickly and respectfully asked Zheng Dongxing for advice. The yin-yang pill is special in that it requires two alchemists to cooperate to refine it. Moreover, it must be a man and a woman. The man focuses on the yang and the woman focuses on the yin. Otherwise, it will only be a waste of materials, and it is absolutely impossible to refine it successfully. That's why I said that I can't refine it by myself. As Zheng Dongxing spoke, the corner of his mouth revealed a slight smile. Shang Yuhua's eyes suddenly lit up. On this ancient battleship, there was an excellent female alchemist, Li Zhaoyi. She was the chief alchemist of the Alchemy Hall. With her help, the yin-yang pill would definitely not be a problem. "Grandmaster Zheng, if you and Master Li Zhaoyi refine it together, there won't be a problem, right?" Shang Yuhua hurriedly asked. As long as Zheng Dongxing nodded, she would immediately ask Li Zhaoyi to help, no matter what the price was. Unexpectedly, Zheng Dongxing still shook his head and said, "I don't have enough energy. I'm afraid I can't cooperate with Master Li Zhaoyi. However, my grandson Zheng Tianqing is also a good alchemist. His alchemy ability is almost the same as mine. If he cooperates with Master Li Zhaoyi, it should not be a big problem." Shang Yuhua also had an impression of Zheng Tianqing's words, but it was not a good impression. What happened in the restaurant that day had been proved that Zheng Tianqing had poisoned the food, but now she couldn't be picky. Saving Shang Wani was the most important thing. Master Li Zhaoyi doesn't seem to be here. I'll ask her to come over immediately. Shang Yuhua looked around and didn't see Li Zhaoyi. She probably didn't come out of the room, so she immediately went to find Li Zhaoyi. Zheng Dongxing raised his hand to stop her and said, "Miss Shang, don't worry. I've already asked someone to invite Master Li Zhaoyi and my grandson. When they come, you can discuss the details with them." "Thank you, Grandmaster Zheng. It's really thanks to you this time. Otherwise, my father would really be in danger." Shang Yuhua bowed gratefully and thanked him. Although Zheng Dongxing didn't seem to be a good person, he did help. At this time, the strange feeling in Lin Yi's heart became more and more obvious, but there were too few clues for him to figure it out. After a while, Li Zhaoyi was really invited to the deck. Of course, Zheng Tianqing was always behind her, so there was no need to find him again. Shang Yuhua stepped forward and bowed respectfully, then sincerely asked, "Master Li Zhaoyi, my father, Shang Wani, has been possessed by the devil because of his carelessness and cultivation. Now only the yin and yang pill can save his life, so I beg you to help me refine the pill. I've prepared the materials. As long as you agree, I can agree to any conditions." Li Zhaoyi frowned a little. She looked at Shang Wani, who was still lying down and twitching slightly. She shook her head and said, "I can't refine the yin and yang pill." Shang Yuhua thought that Li Zhaoyi was referring to the fact that she couldn't refine the elixir alone, so she immediately pointed at Zheng Tianqing and said, "I know that the yin-yang pill needs two alchemists to refine it together. Master Zheng just told me about it, and he said that his grandson, Zheng Tianqing, is also an alchemist master, so he can cooperate with you to refine the yin-yang pill." Chapter 58-34. Zheng Tianqing immediately laughed and said, "Yes, I am indeed an alchemist, but I dare not be called a master. However, if I can cooperate with Master Li Zhaoyi, I think it will not be a problem to refine the yin and yang pill. Miss Shang, Please rest assured that I, Zheng Tianqing, will not shirk from this task. Thank you, Alchemist Zheng. Shang Yuhua did not expect Zheng Tianqing to agree so readily, but in this way there should be no problem with Li Zhao, right? Master Li Zhao, you see that Alchemist Zheng has agreed. When can you start refining the pill? Shang Yuhua looked at Li Zhao expectantly, hoping that she would nod immediately. Unfortunately, the expressionless Li Zhao still shook her head resolutely and said, I can't refine the yin and yang pill. This time Shang Yuhua's face really changed. Why was refining the pill so troublesome? Twists and turns were not enough to describe it. She was about to achieve her goal, but Li Zhao inexplicably refused to refine the pill. If it were not for the fact that Li Zhao was the only suitable female alchemist on the entire ancient battleship, Shang Yuhua would have fallen out with her. She was trying to save his life. Do you think you are playing a game? Zheng Dongxing asked gently, Master Li Zhao, don't you have the formula for the yin and yang pill? It doesn't matter, I have it here. I believe that with your strength, it will not be a problem for you to refine the yin and yang pill. I have the formula, but I can't refine the yin and yang pill. Li Zhao glanced at Zheng Dongxing faintly and said without hesitation. Shang Yuhua was so anxious that tears came out of her eyes. She bowed and pleaded, Master Li Zhao, my father's life is really at stake. Please help us once and we will be very grateful. If you have any request you can put forward it. As long as we can do it, we will never refuse. Li Zhao showed an awkward expression on her face, but she did not seem to want to agree. She still shook her head and said, You don't understand. I will auction my alchemy rights when I go to the extreme North Island this time. We, the Universal Chamber of Commerce, will buy it. No matter how much it costs, we will buy it. Shang Yuhua suddenly raised her head and couldn't wait to say loudly, Master Li Zhao, are you worried that after refining elixirs here, you may not be able to refine elixirs again when you reach the extreme North Island because of the loss? It doesn't matter. I'll buy the alchemy rights this time. Master Li Zhao, you don't need to attend the auction anymore. It's not like that. Let me finish. Li Zhao's tone was still indifferent, without the slightest fluctuation. Refining the elixir consumes physical strength, but this is not the main reason. If it were any other elixir I would definitely help, but not the yin and yang elixir. Wei Shinjin said unhappily, why can't the yin and yang pill work? If it wasn't for the fact that the yin and yang pill requires a female alchemist, I would have asked my boss for help long ago. Do you think that you're the only one here who knows alchemy? My boss's alchemy skills are much better than yours. Li Zhao glanced at Wei Shinjin and didn't argue with him. She just continued to say, when refining the yin and yang pill, because yin and yang meet, water and fire blend, the alchemist must be naked. It doesn't matter if I'm alone, but it's absolutely impossible to refine elixirs with others. Shang Yuhua was stunned. If it were her, she might not agree, let alone Li Zhao. They had nothing to do with the Shang family. Why should she sacrifice her innocence to help them? Zheng Tianqing said solemnly, Master Li Zhao, as the saying goes, doctors have the heart of a parent. Although it's a little troublesome to refine the yin and yang pill, Vice President Shang is in danger. How can some small things be more important than saving a life? Shang Yuhua opened her mouth, but she couldn't make any sound. Li Zhao had already made it so obvious. What else could she say? It was related to a girl's reputation, and Li Zhao was the chief alchemist of the alchemy hall. She really couldn't do such a difficult thing. Li Zhao looked very embarrassed. Zheng Tianqing struck while the iron was hot and continued to say righteously, Master Li Zhao, as an alchemist, you must overcome all difficulties on the path of alchemy in order to spy on a higher realm. If Master Li Zhao is not even willing to refine the yin and yang pill to save a life, I'm afraid you will stop on the path of alchemy in the future. With your talent, are you really willing to stop completely because of a mere yin and yang pill? What he said was somewhat reasonable. After a slight pause, Li Zhao actually began to consider such a possibility. Zheng Tianqing was secretly delighted. This was the best opportunity to win over Li Zhao. As long as she agreed to refine elixirs with Zheng Tianqing, the chief alchemist of the alchemy hall would be his plaything in the future. Master Li Zhao, time waits for no one. We can wait slowly, but Vice President Shang can't wait. Hurry up and refine the yin and yang pill with me. This sort of thing, like watching someone die without helping, if it gets out, not only will it damage your reputation, even the pill hall will be smeared along with it. Zheng Tianqing smiled proudly, then pretended to be a gentleman and said, Don't worry, when I refine elixirs I will definitely close my eyes. I will definitely not peek at you. If he hadn't said this, it would have been fine. After hearing his words, Li Zhao's pretty face suddenly turned cold. She snorted and said, "You can refine elixirs with your eyes closed? You are indeed a top genius. I, Li Zhaoyi, don't have that kind of ability." Zheng Tianqing wanted to say that he didn't mind her opening her eyes to look at him. Unfortunately, before he could speak, Lin Yi walked out and said to him coldly, "Get lost, don't block my way." Boss. Wei Xinjin hurriedly came over and said, "Vice President Shang has been possessed by the devil. The situation is very bad." Lin Yi nodded and said, "I know. You don't have to say anything more." Li Zhaoyi suddenly said, "Lin Yi, refine the yin and yang pill with me." This sudden suggestion made Lin Yi slightly stunned. He didn't expect that Li Zhaoyi would have such an idea. Zheng Tianqing's face was livid. He had talked for a long time, but Li Zhaoyi still didn't agree to refine elixirs with him. As soon as Lin Yi appeared, she took the initiative to ask to refine elixirs with him. It was simply too much. "Master Li Zhaoyi, Lin Yi is the enemy of our alchemy hall. How can you say such a thing? Even if you want to refine the yin and yang pill, it should be me and you, right?" Zheng Tianqing asked loudly with some exasperation. He had deliberately wanted to use this opportunity to refine the yin and yang pill to capture Li Zhaoyi. How could he give up so easily? Not, to be continued. Chapter 58-35. Li Zhaoyi said faintly, "It's not up to you to decide who the enemy of Dan Hall is. Not to mention that you are just the grandnephew of Vice Hall Master Zheng. Even Vice Hall Master Zheng cannot represent the position of Dan Hall." These two sentences could be said to be quite serious. Not only did Zheng Tianqing's face change, even Zheng Dongjue, who was on the side, felt ashamed. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with a small character like Zheng Tianqing. He came out to refine the yin and yang pill to save Shangwani. The two main ingredients were ready. As long as he had the elixir formula, his Shinong cauldron would definitely be able to refine the yin and yang pill. "Why do you want to refine pills with me?" Lin Yi was also very curious about Li Zhaoyi's proposal, so he asked. Li Zhaoyi said expressionlessly, "A person who says that he wants to refine pills with his eyes closed will never put his mind on alchemy. Even if he really closes his eyes, his mind will only fall on me. Besides, I don't think he will really close his eyes. Since I'm going to refine pills, I must refine the yin and yang pill to save Vice President Shang. I'm afraid this kind of person with distracting thoughts has never thought about refining the yin and yang pill successfully. He just wants to take advantage of me." It was rare for this girl to say so much. Lin Yi really admired her. No wonder she was so impolite to Zheng Tianqing and Zheng Dongjue just now. It turned out that she was not stupid. She knew Zheng Tianqing's silly mind like the back of her hand. It was not wrong to say that Zheng Tianqing didn't care about whether he could refine the yin and yang pill at all. This kid was thinking about how to take the opportunity to get Li Zhaoyi. Whether Shangwani was dead or alive, it had nothing to do with him. "You said that you want to refine the yin and yang pill with you, so you should have the elixir formula of the yin and yang pill, right?" Lin Yi smiled slightly and did not respond to Li Zhaoyi's words. Li Zhaoyi nodded and said, "Of course I have the recipe for the yin and yang pill. Although this kind of pill is relatively unpopular, I like to collect all kinds of pill recipes. The yin and yang pill recipe is one of them. If you agree, we can start refining the yin and yang pill immediately." Shang Yuhua grabbed Wei Xinjin's hand subconsciously, but she didn't notice it at all. She was just nervous. This damn yin and yang elixir was really torturing her. Saying that it was full of twists and turns was not enough to describe their ups and downs. Now, as long as Lin Yi agreed, her father could be saved. "Give me the pill formula first." Lin Yi didn't agree or disagree. He just asked Li Zhaoyi to give him the prescription first. Last time, this girl came to ask about Shi Jun's recovery method or prescription. Maybe it was because she liked to collect prescriptions? Li Zhaoyi didn't suspect anything. She quickly took out a small piece of parchment from her small bag and handed it to Lin Yi. "This is the prescription of the yin and yang pill. You have to carefully verify that what you're doing is correct. If you don't do this, I will also feel that you are not qualified to refine the pill with me." Lin Yi smiled faintly. This girl was quite arrogant. She wanted to secretly test the other party's professionalism when she was looking for someone to refine the pill. Unfortunately, she didn't know that Lin Yi had never intended to refine the pill with her. After a few quick glances, the contents of the prescription had already been memorized by Lin Yi. Except for the two main ingredients, the yin core fruit and the yang pole grass, the rest of the auxiliary licorice grass were indeed very common. Lin Yi had a lot of licorice grass in his own reserves. After returning the prescription to Li Zhaoyi, Lin Yi smiled and said, "I'm sorry, I won't refine the yin and yang pill with you." Shang Yuhua suddenly clenched her fingers. She didn't even feel her fingertips pinching into Wei Shinjin's palm. Wei Shinjin's expression didn't change, as if it wasn't his palm at all. Li Xiaoyi was stunned and asked in confusion, "Why? Do you think you can't refine the yin and yang pill?" But the yin and yang pill is only a 7th grade yellow level pill, except for the special refining conditions. It shouldn't be difficult for you, right? Zheng Dongxing took the opportunity to say, "Master Li Xiaoyi, since Linny doesn't want to help Vice President Shang, you should refine the yin and yang pill with my grandson." To be honest, putting aside Lin Yi's hostility to our Dan Hall, his tacit understanding with Master Li Xiaoyi is also a problem. In addition, Tianqing is also a member of the Dan Hall. This kind of alchemy should be done with our own people. Shut up. It's not up to you, an alchemist from a famous medicine sect, to intervene in the affairs of the Dan Hall. Don't think that just because you're the cousin of Vice President Zheng, you can criticize the Dan Hall. Li Xiaoyi really didn't have a good impression of the Zheng family. Even Zheng Dongxing reprimanded them mercilessly. Ignoring Zheng Dongxing's embarrassed face, Li Xiaoyi frowned and asked Lin Yi, "Lin Yi, do you think that you're the one who will suffer a loss if you refine pills with me?" If Lin Yi felt that he couldn't refine the yin and yang pill, Li Xiaoyi would never believe it. Then, it might be possible that he would suffer a loss. But if it was refining the yin and yang pill, how could Lin Yi suffer a loss? Li Xiaoyi didn't care that she would suffer a loss, so why would Lin Yi care? To be honest, Li Xiaoyi really didn't understand what he was thinking at all. Shang Yuhua anxiously pulled Wei Shinjin and whispered into his ear, "Brother Wei, please help me beg your boss. As long as he can refine pills, I can agree to any request he has. Also, if my father can wake up, I'm willing to marry you." Thinking of how Lin Yi had repeatedly expressed his intention to matchmake her and Wei Shinjin, Shang Yuhua felt that she seemed to understand something. Perhaps Lin Yi wanted to use this matter to make her willingly marry his little brother? To be honest, after getting along with him for a period of time, Shang Yuhua had unknowingly changed her view of Wei Shinjin. After saying that she was willing to marry Wei Shinjin, she didn't have any resistance. Instead, she had a faint thought that this was also very good. Originally, Shang Yuhua thought that Wei Shinjin would be overjoyed after hearing this. After all, as long as he was not blind, he would be able to understand his love for her. However, to her surprise, Wei Shinjin didn't have any joy at all. Instead, his expression changed slightly. When Wei Shinjin pulled his hand out of Shang Yuhua's without batting an eyelid, she realized that she had been holding his hand all along. When their hands separated, she felt an inexplicable sense of loss in her heart. "Miss Shang, my boss is not a person who likes to be threatened. If he can save President Shang, he will definitely not stand by and do nothing. And I hope you know that I like you as a person, not a commodity that can be used for trading." Wei Shinjin whispered in Shang Yuhua's ear. This was the first time he had clearly said that he liked her, but perhaps after saying it, they would no longer have the possibility of being together. To be continued. Announcement: the app is online. It supports Android and Apple. Please follow the official WeChat account to download and install. Appsit. Chapter 5836. However, Wei Shinjin did not regret it. He wanted Yuhua and he did not get her through a deal. Moreover, she thought that Lin Yi was threatening her, which was also unforgivable. Shang Yuhua's pretty face was pale. She felt that she was really stupid. Wei Shinjin had clearly shown his responsibility and his principles. How could she say such a thing? She wanted to tell Wei Shinjin that she was just too anxious, so she spoke without thinking, but in the end she only opened her mouth and could not say a word, because Wei Shinjin had already bowed to Lin Yi and made a request. "Boss, Vice President Shang's situation is urgent. Please refine the yin and yang pill to save Vice President Shang." Wei Shinjin respectfully requested. He did not ask whether Lin Yi could refine the yin and yang pill because there was no need to ask at all. Even a fool like Zheng Tianqing said that he could refine it, so how could the boss not be able to refine it? Li Xiaoyi's view of Lin Yi had taken a sharp turn. Although the conversation between Shang Yuhua and Wei Shinjin was whispered, she still vaguely heard some of it. With her intelligence, she could naturally imagine other things that she did not hear clearly. Therefore, now Li Xiaoyi had already determined that Lin Yi wanted to use the matter of refining the yin and yang pill to force Shang Yuhua to marry Wei Shinjin. This kind of scum was not qualified to refine the yin and yang pill with her. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said to Wei Shinjin, "Of course I will refine the yin and yang pill, but this favor cannot be given to you. Otherwise people will really think that the two of us colluded to bully her." Shang Yuhua took a deep breath and calmed her emotions. Then she solemnly bowed to Lin Yi and said, "Master Lin, it's Yuhua's fault. I measured the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. Big Brother Wei was such a responsible man. How could his boss be inferior to him? However, when Yu Hua said that she wanted to marry Big Brother Wei, it wasn't a transaction, but from the bottom of her heart. No matter how this matter ends, I have to make this clear. Lin Yi patted Wei Shenjin's shoulder with a smile and said, Miss Shang is a good girl. Cherish her in the future and don't let her down. Boss. Wei Shenjin's face was slightly red, but he also knew that it wasn't the time to talk about this, so he could only lower his head and remain silent. Lin Yi beckoned to Yu Hua and said, Bring me the yin core fruit and yang pole grass. I will refine the yin yang pill. Li Zhaoyi said coldly, I've changed my mind. You're not a good person. I don't want to cooperate with you anymore. Lin Yi shrugged and said indifferently, I'm sorry. I told you that I don't want to refine the yin yang pill with you. It's just a yin yang pill. I can refine it myself. Li Zhaoyi frowned and said, That's impossible. Even if you also have water and fire spiritual roots and can condense the fire of both water and fire, it is impossible for you to refine the yin-yang pill. There is only one yin core fruit and yang pole grass. If you do this, Shangwani will really die. Zheng Tianqing finally found a chance to step on Lin Yi's ass. He couldn't wait any longer and jumped out, Lin Yi, don't play around with people's lives if you want to brag. Master Li Zhao's alchemy skills are far above yours. Don't you know the difficulty of refining the yin-yang pill? What's more, you didn't even have the recipe for the yin-yang pill. After peeping at Master Li Zhao's recipe, you said that you can refine it by yourself. Do you really think this is a joke? Lin Yi glanced at him disdainfully and sneered, Summer insects can't talk about ice. If you can't do it yourself, does it mean that no one in the world can do it? You are a frog in a well. You'd better go back and read a few more books to improve your knowledge. Otherwise you will lose face for the Zheng family. Zheng Dongxing sneered and said, The descendants of the Zheng family don't need to listen to people like you who talk nonsense. Instead of letting you waste elixirs, it's better to let my grandson and Master Li Zhao refine the yin-yang pill together. Li Zhao did not speak this time, but looked at Lin Yi coldly, wanting to see how he was going to end this. As for Shangwani's life, Li Zhao would certainly save him if he could, but in this situation he might not be able to. Lin Yi ignored the idiots of the Zheng family, turned to Shang Yuhua and said, Miss Shang, if I say that I can refine the yin-yang pill, do you believe me? If you believe me, give me the thing. If you don't believe me, just pretend that I didn't say anything. He saved Shangwani because Lin Yi and Shangwani had a good relationship, and they had just finalized some small cooperation before. Secondly, he did it for the sake of Wei Shenjin. However, if Shang Yuhua did not believe him, Lin Yi would definitely turn around and leave. There was no need for him to beg her to let him refine elixirs to save Shangwani. Shang Yuhua did not hesitate this time. She had heard too many magical deeds of Lin Yi from her father, and she still admired him in her heart. Moreover, this was Wei Shenjin's boss. Out of trust for Wei Shenjin, she would also choose to believe Lin Yi. Seeing Shang Yuhua hand over the two main ingredients to him without any hesitation, Lin Yi was somewhat surprised. He thought that Shang Yuhua would at least consider it. Zheng Dongxing's complexion was extremely ugly. He coldly snorted and said, The yin core fruit is this old man's. It is used to save people, not for you, Lin Yi, to waste. If you really want to refine the yin-yang pill, then I'm sorry, this old man will not sell the yin core fruit. Lin Yi laughed. His face was full of ridicule as he looked at Zheng Dongxing and said, Zheng Dongxing, you are really shameless. Money and goods have been exchanged. How can you say that you want to overturn it? No wonder you look like a dog. It turns out that you like to eat things that come out. The surrounding people suddenly burst into laughter. It was clear that they were also very disdainful of Zheng Dongxing's actions. On Heaven Step Island, you can steal and rob, but you can't go back on your word after completing the transaction. Doing so would attract everyone's disdain. Because of this, when Kai Zhongyang took out the yang pole grass, he hesitated. Zheng Dongxing was also secretly regretting it. He was a bit anxious, so he didn't think carefully before speaking, allowing Lin Yi to seize the opportunity. But once the words left his mouth, spilled water was hard to take back. If he went back on his word, he would only be laughed at. Chapter 58-37. After all, he was a member of the All-Trade Chamber of Commerce. After calming himself down, he was very skilled in handling things. His words were watertight, reminding him that the yin core fruit transaction had been completed and there was no room for regrets. He also explained that the new Spirit Jade card was only a token of gratitude and had nothing to do with the previous transaction. Lin Yi didn't care whether Zheng Dongxing would accept the spirit jade card or not. He just sneered at him and turned back. The refining of the yin and yang elixir had to be done as soon as possible. Although Shang Wani was fine for the time being, there would always be some problems after a long time. Li Zhaoyi watched Lin Yi leave coldly and didn't say anything more. Since Shang Yuhua chose to believe Lin Yi, she certainly wouldn't fight for this job. Zheng Tianqing said unhappily, Master Li Zhao, the people of the Shang family are really idiots. They actually believe that the liar Lin Yi can refine the yin and yang elixir by himself. It's a pity that the yin core fruit and the yang pole grass will be wasted. Li Zhaoyi didn't want to talk to him. She had just scolded the Zheng family so much, but this guy still had the cheek to come up to her. There was no one else who could be so shameless. In fact, Zheng Tianqing had no choice. It was necessary to win over Li Zhaoyi, who played a pivotal role in the Zheng family's control of the alchemy hall. Even if Li Zhaoyi slapped him in the face, he still had to lean over and let her slap him, not to mention that Li Zhaoyi had only scolded them. Shang Yuhua watched Lin Yi leave, but she was still a little nervous. Although she gave the things to Lin Yi so readily, it was absolutely false to say that she was not nervous about Shang Wani's life. Unconsciously, she subconsciously held Wei Shenjin's palm again, as if this could bring her some sense of security. Wei Shenjin felt her uneasiness and comforted her softly, "Don't worry, the boss never does things that he is not sure of. As long as he promised, he will definitely do it." Only then did Shang Yuhua find that her palm was holding Wei Shenjin's again. Listening to his whisper in her ear, her heart suddenly calmed down a lot. After a soft hum, she stopped talking. After returning to the room, Lin Yi opened the restriction, took out the Shinong cauldron, and then entered the formula of the yin and yang elixir. As he expected, the automatic alchemy system did not require a man and a woman. As long as there was the input of genuine qi or divine awareness into the appropriate alchemy fire, the alchemy could be easily completed. After the automatic alchemy system's analysis, the most suitable alchemy script for refining the yin and yang pill was generated. Of the alchemy. Step by step, the alchemy and the alchemy. In terms of refining time, the yin and yang pill was indeed longer than the spirit-quenching pill or even the mountain-gazing pill. It could be seen that the difficulty of refining this kind of elixir was indeed higher, but it did not matter. Anyway, he could succeed. After Lin Yi opened the Shinong cauldron, he got 2 yin and yang elixirs, which was a surprise. The automatic alchemy system had expected only one. After all, there was only one set of materials. At most, there would be a little more leftover materials. He did not expect that the leftover materials could also be used to refine a yin and yang pill. Moreover, these 2 yin and yang pills were of the best quality. If they were auctioned, the starting price would be at least 100,000 spirit jades. After packing up his things, Lin Yi opened the door and went to the deck. Most of the onlookers had left. After all, the life and death of Shang Wani was not worth staying in the same place to wait for the result. Only the relevant people were still there. For example, the Zheng family wanted to see Lin Yi make a fool of himself, and Li Zhaoyi also wanted to teach him a lesson. Hence, when Lin Yi appeared on the deck, Zheng Tianqing didn't even wait for him to speak before he laughed out loud and mocked, "Look, Master Lin is here. He actually used more than 4 hours to make the pill useless. I wonder how he's going to wake Vice President Shang up. Could it be that he's going to use those dregs? He can save people with dregs. Master Lin's alchemy is really amazing." Zheng Dongxing also sneered, "Ignorant child, do you think that you can refine all the elixirs just because you can refine a few difficult elixirs? Miss Shang, you'd better prepare for your father's funeral. The difficulty of refining the yin and yang pill is extremely high. It may not be successful even in 24 hours. This kid doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He came out so soon. Needless to say, he must have failed." Shang Yua's face was pale and her body swayed slightly. Wei Shenjin clenched his fist slightly and said softly, "The boss will not let us down. Before the boss speaks, we don't need to pay attention to any gossip." After hearing Wei Shenjin's words, Shang Yuhua took a deep breath, looked at him and nodded hard. At this point she could only believe that Lin Yi could bring a miracle. Li Zhaoyi also frowned and looked at Lin Yi unhappily, waiting for him to speak. Lin Yi ignored the provocation of the grandfather and grandson of the Zheng family and went straight to Shang Yuhua. He turned his hand and took out a jade bottle, handed it to her and said, "The yin and yang pill is refined. Hurry up and give it to your father." "Impossible." Zheng Tianqing shouted directly. Did Lin Yi really take out the yin and yang pill? A yin and yang pill that was refined in 4 hours? If he didn't know that Lin Yi was not someone to be trifled with, he would have rushed over and snatched the jade bottle. Li Zhaoyi did not have such scruples. She came directly to Shang Yuhua and said, "Let me see the jade bottle. I want to know if Lin Yi really refined the yin and yang pill." Shang Yuhua, who had just held the jade bottle in her hand, did not have time to thank Lin Yi before she encountered such a situation. She suddenly looked at Lin Yi with some hesitation, not knowing if he would mind. Of course Shang Yuhua minded very much. She just wanted Shang Wani to take the yin and yang pill immediately. Who would be happy to take out such a life-saving thing for others to study? What if there was an accident? At that time, there would be no second alchemy material to refine the yin and yang pill. Lin Yi glanced at Li Zhaoyi lightly and nodded to Shang Yuhua. It was no big deal. Even if Li Zhaoyi made an accident with this elixir, he still had another one with him. There was no need to worry that Shang Wani would not have enough yin and yang pill to eat. Seeing Lin Yi nod, Shang Yuhua carefully handed the jade bottle to Li Zhaoyi. Li Zhaoyi opened the jade bottle with a solemn expression. Inside was a black and white elixir like a Tai Chi pattern. There were 3 faint halos around it. It was definitely the yin and yang pill. Chapter 58-38. Zheng Tianqing suddenly looked like a duck that had been strangled by the neck. He stretched his neck and looked over with a flushed face. After a while he cried, "Master Li Zhao, don't be fooled by this liar. How can the yin and yang pill be refined in such a short time? He must have prepared this yin and yang pill a long time ago and now he is showing off." Li Zhao suppressed the shock in her heart, then looked at Zheng Tianqing with a cold face and said, "Are you doubting my judgment? Can't I tell whether the pill has just been refined or not?" Zheng Tianqing was suddenly speechless. He was also an alchemist, so he naturally knew that there would be a big difference between a pill that had just been refined and a pill that had been stored for a long time. However, it was too difficult for him to believe that Lin Yi had really refined the yin and yang pill by himself just now. Li Zhao snorted and ignored Zheng Tianqing. She returned the jade bottle to Shang Yuhua and said, "This is indeed the yin and yang pill. Your father can be saved. Hurry up and give it to him." "Thank you, Master Lin. Thank you, Master Li Zhao." Shang Yuhua hurriedly thanked him, then took the jade bottle and put the yin and yang pill into Shang Wani's mouth. The yin and yang pill melted in his mouth and quickly harmonized the water and fire genuine qi in Shang Wani's body. In just a dozen breaths, his body stopped twitching, and the situation where half of his body was red and half of his body was pale slowly disappeared. The hot and cold qi gradually blended, and he slowly returned to his normal body temperature. Shang Yuhua was so excited that she covered her mouth and did not dare to make a sound, for fear that it would affect Shang Wani's recovery. After a while Shang Wani woke up. Except for a little listlessness, he basically had no other problems. "Father, you finally woke up. You scared me to death." When Shang Yuhua saw Shang Wani sitting up, she immediately threw herself into his arms, and the tears that she had been holding back for a long time burst out of her eyes. The people of the Zheng family had quietly left. They were too ashamed to stay. Now there were only the people of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yi, Li Zhao, Hou Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang and others on the deck. As for the fact that Lin Yi could refine the yin and yang pill, Hou Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang did not find it strange. Seeing that Shang Wani had woken up, they did not stay any longer. After whispering to Lin Yi, they went back. "Father, this time, it is all thanks to Master Lin Yi that we can save you. There is also President Kai of the 5 Elements Commerce. Without his yang pole grass, we would not be able to refine the yin and yang pill." Shang Yuhua remembered that she should thank these benefactors. She quickly got up and wanted to tell Shang Wani about what had just happened. Shang Wani waved his hand and said, "Yuhua, you don't need to say anything. Although I am possessed, I am still conscious. I know what happened here." As he spoke, he stood up and walked in front of Lin Yi. He solemnly cupped his fists and bowed. "Master Lin, it is all thanks to Master Lin that I was able to survive this time. From now on, if you need any help, I, Shang Wani, will definitely die for you." Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "Chamber of Commerce leader, you are too polite. We are friends. How can I sit back and do nothing when a friend is in trouble? Don't mention this again. Otherwise I, Lin Yi, will not treat you as a friend." "Okay, since Master Lin has said so, I will not say anything more." Shang Wani laughed and patted his chest hard. "I can't thank you with words. Everything is in my heart." After talking to Lin Yi, Shang Wani solemnly thanked Li Zhaoyi. Although she did not directly refine the elixir, after all, she was willing to bet her reputation to refine the elixir for him. Moreover, she was the one who showed the elixir formula of the yin and yang pill to Lin Yi, so she should thank him. However, Li Zhaoyi obviously did not care much about Shang Wani's thanks. What she cared about was Lin Yi's alchemy, so she said a few perfunctory words absent-mindedly. She just wanted to ask Lin Yi about it. On one side, Shang Yuhua wiped away the tears on her face and whispered to Wei Xinjin with a sweet smile, "Brother Wei, you are right. Your boss is really a man of his word and he will never lie." Wei Xinjin whispered proudly, "Of course my eyesight is very good now. I will never be wrong when I look at people." This implied words made Shang Yuhua blush slightly, and she felt a little sweet in her heart. Then she said in a lower voice, "My eyes are not as good as yours, but I will not lie. What I said just now is true." Wei Xinjin was stunned and said, "What did you say?" Shang Yuhua stretched out her finger angrily and secretly pinched Wei Xinjin's arm. She said, "Do you want me to say it again? Don't even think about it. It's fine if you don't remember." Wei Xinjin suddenly came to his senses, and he was naturally overjoyed. However, in front of her father, he did not dare to have any overly intimate actions. For a while he also scratched his ears and didn't know what to do. At this time Shang Wani was saying to Lin Yi, "Master Lin, you have worked hard today. When you are free I will visit you. There are still some things I want to ask Master Lin about my chi deviation this time. President Shang can come at any time. You also need to have a good rest today. I will go back first. Also, if President Shang treats me as a friend, don't call me Master Lin in the future. Just call me Lin Yi." Lin Yi said with a smile. Shang Wani seemed to be a good person, and the Universal Chamber of Commerce's influence in Zhongdao was not bad. It was always good to have one more friend. Shang Wani laughed and said, "Well, I will call you Brother Lin like President Kai Zhongyang." "Brother Lin, don't call me President Shang Wani anymore. That is really too formal." Lin Yi smiled and nodded. "Brother Shang." When they were chatting, Li Zhaoyi was already a little impatient. Now she said lightly, "President Shang needs to take a good rest. You'd better go back and rest early." Shang Wani was a veteran in the business world. As soon as he heard this, he knew that he was a hindrance. After all, he was a person who had helped him before. It was not good for him not to give face. He immediately said goodbye to Lin Yi with a smile and said goodbye to Li Zhaoyi. Seeing that her father was leaving, Shang Yuhua hurriedly whispered to Wei Xinjin, "Let's go to the restaurant for breakfast tomorrow morning." After that, without waiting for Wei Xinjin to answer, she turned around shyly and walked 2 steps quickly, leaving with Shang Wani. Chapter 58-39. "Boss, do you want to have breakfast with us?" Wei Xinjin scratched the back of his head and asked with a smile, but Lin Yi guessed that this guy did not want a third wheel to follow him. Without waiting for Lin Yi to answer, Li Zhaoyi had already said to him, "Lin Yi, wait. What's the matter?" Lin Yi thought that he should at least give her some face after seeing her elixir recipe, so his tone was still gentle. In fact, seeing Li Zhaoyi's attitude towards the Zheng family, Lin Yi felt a little more friendly towards her. Although they were not friends, at least this girl was not an enemy. "Did you really refine the yin and yang pill alone, and it's a special quality yin and yang pill?" Although the facts were in front of her, Li Zhaoyi could not help but ask. Lin Yi shrugged and said with a faint smile, "What's so strange about this? You saw it yourself, do you still need to ask me?" Li Zhaoyi frowned slightly and muttered to herself, "This is impossible. Why is it like this? How can yin and yang pill be refined by one person?" Lin Yi thought that with the automatic alchemy system, there was no elixir that was impossible to refine. Of course he would not tell this girl these words. There is nothing impossible in this world. You think it's impossible because you haven't found a way to make the impossible possible. Lin Yi said casually and prepared to leave. If she only asked this question, then he really didn't have much to say. Li Zhaoyi's eyes lit up and she repeated in a low voice, "There is nothing impossible in this world. You think it's impossible because you haven't found a way to make the impossible possible." These words sounded ordinary, but the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. Li Zhaoyi's gaze towards Lin Yi also changed a little. She only felt that this guy was really unfathomable. "Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm leaving." Lin Yi waved his hand and beckoned Wei Xinjin to go back. Li Zhaoyi hurriedly stretched out her hand and said, "Wait a minute, Lin Yi, can you teach me your method of refining the yin and yang pill? I can use pill formulas, spirit herbs and so on to exchange with you." As for spirit jades, Li Zhaoyi didn't mention them at all. She didn't think that an alchemist would lack spirit jades. Only those precious pill recipes and elixirs would arouse his interest. Lin Yi was really interested in Li Zhaoyi's offer. Unfortunately, he couldn't tell her the method of alchemy, so he could only give up regretfully. "I'm sorry, but my method is only suitable for myself. No one else can replicate it." Lin Yi shook his head. This was indeed the truth. So you don't have to worry. No matter what you take out, I can't teach you. A trace of disappointment appeared on Li Xiaoyi's face. She then asked, Linny, can you tell me who your master is? Linny thought to himself, this weird girl really doesn't take the normal path. This kind of thing is usually someone else's privacy, right? Even if you want to ask, at least be tactful. How can you ask so straightforwardly? Can you tell me? Li Xiaoyi asked again, her eyes full of expectation. Linny shook his head and chuckled. Shengguan Tianhua. Li Xiaoyi was obviously stunned and then frowned slightly. That's not right. Shengguan Tianhua shouldn't know alchemy, right? How could he teach an alchemy master like you? You don't really believe it, do you? Linny was speechless as well. This was obviously bullshit, and yet this girl didn't even suspect a thing? She was even seriously considering how Shengguan Tianhua had taught Linny how to concoct pills. Linny was truly defeated by her. After this period of interaction, Linny could tell that Li Xiaoyi was a little girl who didn't know much about the world. She was pure and kind, but because she didn't interact much with people, she was lacking in the ways of the world. She wasn't a bad person. Thinking that if Li Xiaoyi didn't get the right answer, she would probably come back and bother him again. Linny didn't want to trouble her any further, so he might as well just tell her the truth. Come here, I'll tell you a secret. Linny waved at Li Xiaoyi, and when she got closer he whispered, actually, you know my master as well. He's the head of your alchemy hall, Zhang Liju. Huh? Li Xiaoyi straightened up and looked at Linny with an adorable face. She opened her mouth and asked after a while, really? Linny smiled faintly. Yes. He didn't wait for Li Xiaoyi to say anything else and brought Wei Xinjin back. Jing Tianqing, who was hiding and watching from afar, gritted his teeth. Linny had almost put his mouth on Li Xiaoyi's ear. He'd been trying to please her for a few days, and he hadn't done anything intimate with Li Xiaoyi. What right did Linny have to do that? Li Xiaoyi was still in a daze. She wanted to guess that Linny was lying, but she felt that it was the truth. Other than Zhang Liju, who else in Sky Class Island had the ability to teach a disciple like Linny? Wei Xinjin was very excited the whole way, and Linny didn't bother with him. He sent him back to his room to sleep and went back to his own room. These 2 days Linny had been concocting elixirs, but now he didn't want to continue concocting elixirs. Instead he wanted to train. When he leveled up before, he almost broke through to Mystic Ascension full circle, but in the end he stopped at the peak of Mystic Ascension late stage, so Linny wanted to try and see if he could find an opportunity to break through. After knowing that spiritual sense grass root, spiritual sense fruit, and so on had a limit, Linny had already given up on the idea of using spiritual sense to level up. Even if he wanted to use it, he could only do so after he entered the mountain opening stage. After entering the space of the Jade Pendant, Linny began to use the heaven-stealing fortune battle art to train. The ghost was still in closed-door training and no one would disturb him. It was the best time to train. However, Linny estimated that he would not have a chance to enter the Mystic Ascension full circle in a short time. His current training was more about consolidating his previous improvements, and when the opportunity to advance appeared, he would be able to succeed in one fell swoop. The time spent in cultivation passed very quickly. After Linny ran a few big circles, it was already noon. He didn't know how Wei Xinjin and Shang Yuhua ate breakfast. Maybe they would eat lunch or even dinner. After leaving the space of the Jade Pendant, Lin Yi's spiritual sense passed through the door restriction and found that Shang Wani was standing alone at the door. He didn't know how long he had been waiting. Lin Yi quickly opened the restriction and invited Shang Wani in. Brother Lin, sorry to disturb you. Shang Wani saw Lin Yi open the door, and immediately smiled and cupped his fists. Did I disturb you? Chapter 58-40. Shang Wani replied politely and followed Lin Yi into his room. After he sat down, he immediately took out a green spiritual jade card and placed it on the tea table. Brother Lin, if it wasn't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have survived today. These spiritual jades are not a gift of thanks, they are just a fee for Brother Lin's alchemy. Please don't decline. Although my life isn't worth much, it isn't something that can be bought with just a few spiritual jades. Lin Yi didn't act pretentiously. 500,000 spiritual jades to buy a chance for his alchemy was indeed not low, but compared to the life of Shang Wani, the vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, it wasn't worth mentioning. Shang Wani's meaning was also very clear. Lin Yi had saved his life, and these spiritual jades couldn't make up for it. Moreover, from the future cooperation with Tiandan Pavilion, the profits from a few high-grade alchemy pills would be able to earn back this amount of spiritual jades. Since Shang Wani had already taken it out, if Lin Yi didn't accept it, it would make the relationship between the two seem distant. Therefore he just nodded indifferently, casually thanked Shang Wani, and put away the spiritual jade card. Shang Wani's face revealed a happy expression. After chatting with Lin Yi for a while, he solemnly said, "Brother Lin, the main reason I came here today is to talk to you about my qi deviation." Lin Yi nodded and said, "Brother Shang, do you feel that your qi deviation this time is a bit sudden, so you feel strange?" "Yes, that's right." Shang Wani looked at Lin Yi with some surprise and said, "Brother Lin, could it be that you already found something wrong with me?" "That's not it." Lin Yi shook his head, thought for a while and said, "I feel that Brother Shang's cultivation with your fire and water dual spiritual root is no longer in the dangerous period at the beginning. Generally, this kind of cultivation is the easiest in the early stage, but at your current stage it is extremely stable and safe. If it isn't for breaking through the bottleneck of a big level, there basically won't be any danger." Shang Wani nodded in realization and said, "Brother Lin, you're really insightful. My current strength is indeed still very far from breaking through the bottleneck of a major realm, so it's not very likely for me to go berserk. I didn't think of this." "Brother Shang, are you saying that something abnormal happened to your body before you succumbed to qi deviation, so you're guessing that the crisis this time wasn't spontaneous?" After listening to Shang Wani's words, Lin Yi had this speculation. "Actually, it was very easy to come to this conclusion." "That's right, and I suspect that I was poisoned." Shang Wani's face suddenly darkened. He was also one of the important figures of Middle Island. If this could be confirmed, then his revenge would definitely not have the slightest mercy. This time I had just started cultivating, and my true qi had only circulated less than 1/3 of the cycle. Suddenly, a strange kind of true qi appeared in my dantian and directly rushed into my true qi, breaking the original balance of the water and fire attributes. Although I tried my best to control it, I still couldn't stop this strange true qi. In the end, I could only barely maintain my consciousness when I was qi deviation. Lin Yi's face also became solemn. When he checked with his divine sense, he didn't find any signs of poisoning, but Shang Wani obviously wouldn't make a mistake. In other words, if that kind of poison really existed, it must be very well hidden and extremely difficult to be discovered. To be honest, when Lin Yi heard Shang Wani said that he was poisoned, the first thought that came to his mind was that Zheng Tianqing did it. However, Shang Wani and Zheng Tianqing didn't seem to have any grudges, so why did he do it to Shang Wani? Although he couldn't find the exact evidence and reason for it, Lin Yi still had some confidence in his intuition. Not to mention anything else, after Shang Wani went qi deviation, Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Tianqing's behavior was somewhat unusual. At that time he had a very strange feeling. Therefore, when Shang Wani was poisoned, the Zheng family was the #1 suspect. "Brother Shang, who did you have a grudge with recently, and who did you come into contact with before you were poisoned?" Lin Yi's thoughts were not very clear, so he could only ask Shang Wani first to see if there were any clues. Shang Wani shook his head and said, "Brother Lin, you also know that we do business and harmony brings wealth. How can we have a grudge with others? Even if there are a few competitors, everyone is competing fairly. There is no need to secretly poison others, right? As for the people that I came into contact with before I was poisoned, there are too many of them. As I said, we do business and we have to be on good terms with everyone." Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. It was really meaningless to say these things. However, he now remembered that Zheng Tianqing had been urging Shang Wani to refine the yin and yang pill. Could it be that this fool wanted to pursue Li Zhaoyi, so he deliberately framed Shang Wani to create this opportunity? Now that he thought about it, there was some truth to what he said. At the same time, Tong Wulsuo slightly disguised himself and carefully avoided possible attention. He entered the room where Zheng Dongjue was. If possible, he did not want to meet with the Zheng family on the ship, but Zheng Dongjue had asked him to come through the agreed secret signal, so he had to come. As soon as he entered the room, Zheng Tianqing stood up, pointed at Tong Wulsuo and shouted, "Didn't you say that you would definitely help me get Li Zhaoyi this time? What happened in the end? You actually helped that bastard Lin Yi, tell me? Are you a spy sent by Lin Yi? Tianqing, don't be rude." Zheng Dongxing scolded faintly, but there was not much severity in it. Obviously he was just putting on a show. Tong Wulsuo bowed his head to the three people, but there was a trace of undetectable disdain in his eyes. A person like Zheng Tianqing, if not for his good family background, was really not worthy of his attention. "I'm sorry, this time I miscalculated," Tong Wulsuo said calmly, but in his heart he did not think that his plan had failed. Helping Zheng Tianqing get Li Zhaoyi was just a small matter in this plan. Tong Wulsuo only needed to achieve his real goal. Zheng Dongjue glanced at Zheng Tianqing faintly and said, Tianqing, Tong Wulsuo has done a very good job, but he failed at the last step. It can only be said that the little girl Li Zhaoyi is too stubborn and unwilling to cooperate with you. This is not something we can control. Second Grandpa, do you mean that I, Zheng Tianqing, am completely ignored by Li Zhaoyi? Am I really so bad? Zheng Tianqing said with a face full of anger. He was a genius from Dongzhou. Who could compare with him in Middle Island? Tong Wulsuo narrated calmly, but he also felt that it was a pity that his plan did not succeed, and the key to the failure was that useless Zheng Tianqing. The so-called killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The first was to get rid of Shangwani because he was close to Lin Yi and would become an existence like Kai Zhongyang in the future. It was much easier to get rid of him in advance than in the future. With the difficulty of refining the yin and yang pill, even if Li Zhaoyi and Zheng Tianqing worked together, it would be difficult to successfully refine it in 24 hours. If there was no exception like Lin Yi, Shangwani would definitely be dead. Because if Li Zhaoyi really cooperated with Zheng Tianqing, his mind would definitely not be on refining the pill, but would take the opportunity to take down Li Zhaoyi, and it would not take long for the refining of the yin and yang pill to fail. Letting Zheng Tianqing take down Li Zhaoyi was naturally the second bird, and the third and most important Kai Zhongyang was actually the least difficult. For example, now that the most important target, Kai Zhongyang, had been successful, Tong Wulsuo did not feel that the plan was a failure. After listening to Tong Wulsuo's explanation, Zheng Tianqing realized that he had underestimated this unattractive guy. In terms of strength, Tong Wulsuo was not as good as Zheng Tianqing, but in terms of scheming he was still inferior. However, Zheng Tianqing, a guy who thought he was a genius, would never admit this. Deputy Hall Master, Master Zheng, the matter of Kai Zhongyang will be clear when we reach the northernmost island. Also, Ho Guanqi, according to my investigation before leaving Middle Island, he should have exchanged for a mountain-gazing stone. Although there is no evidence, I guess that it should be Ho Guanqi who exchanged for it for Lin Yi. After talking about Kai Zhongyang, Tong Wulsuo changed the topic to Ho Guanqi. Zheng Dongjue's eyes lit up and said, You mean that we can use this as an excuse to expel Ho Guanqi from the pill hall? No, we must confirm that Lin Yi took the mountain-gazing stone. Only then can we convict Ho Guanqi. Do you have a way to confirm this? Tong Wulsuo smiled lightly and said, Deputy Hall Master, Lin Yi is going to the northernmost island for the God-gathering branch. According to my guess, in order to obtain the God-gathering branch, he should be gathering a large amount of spiritual jades. After passing by the northernmost island in 2 days, I heard that there will be a small trade fair on this ancient warship. We can find someone to purchase the mountain-gazing stone or mountain-gazing pill. We will know if Lin Yi has it. Good. Although it is a simple method, it is very practical. It is decided. Zheng Dongjue laughed and made the decision. He then asked, Oh right, didn't you say that you want to deal with Okuda Dam and implicate Okuda State? Do you have any ideas in this regard? Tong Wulsuo shook his head and said, Not yet. Okuda Dam is the highest authority on this ancient warship. It will not be easy to deal with him. This subordinate thinks that this matter can be postponed. After all, Okuda Dam has the Okuda family behind him. It is safer to take it step by step. Jing Dongxing nodded and said, That is good. You continue to look for opportunities. As long as you can cut off these wings around Lin Yi, it will be much easier to deal with him. Although he said that, Jing Dongxing actually wanted to kill Lin Yi immediately. This kid could refine the yin and yang pill alone. If he was allowed to grow, how terrifying would he become? Unfortunately, Tong Wulsuo's plan was the best and safest way to deal with him. Jing Dongxing had no other way. Tong Wulsuo respectfully agreed. He did not say that he had some other thoughts in his mind. This was because these people from the Zheng family were people who would not remember much credit even if they succeeded, but if they failed, they would magnify all the responsibility. Therefore, it was better not to let them know about things that he was not sure of or was not sure of. Chapter 58-42. Genius in a Second. Remember Love Go? The internet provides you with wonderful novels to read. After they set off again, a small trade fair would be held on the ancient battleship. Of course, everyone was free to participate in it. It was just a warm-up for the auction on the extreme North Island. Different from the regular auction, this kind of private trade fair was a private trade fair. One person would take out something he wanted to exchange and explain what he wanted to exchange. If someone was interested, they would make a deal and then the next person would be replaced. However, Lin Yi didn't care about these for the time being. When he arrived at the North Island, he couldn't wait to go down and have a look. After being away for so long, was everything okay on the North Island? Were his brothers and friends all right? Why was Shanghai Laner suddenly picked up by Ram Jia from the Middle Island and returned to the North Island? This time, before Lin Yi opened the door himself, Wei Shinjin came to call him. Lin Yi had told him before that when they arrived at the North Island, he must go down and remind him to come over and remind him. It was rare for this guy to remember this when he was busy chasing after girls. Boss, we're about to dock at the North Island. We have 1 day and 1 night. Let's go. I can't wait to see your hometown. Wei Shinjin showed a big smile to Lin Yi, who opened the door, and then pulled over Shang Yuhua, who was beside him, and said, Yuhua also wants to go with us. Let's go with you. Shang Yuhua blushed a little and rolled her eyes at Wei Shinjin coquettishly. Then she bowed to Lin Yi and said, Lin, boss, brother Wei and I will go with you to the North Island to see the world. Lin Yi couldn't help smiling. Shang Yuhua had already followed Wei Shinjin to call him boss. It seemed that they were developing very fast. If it was really Zheng Tianqing who poisoned Shang Wani, Lin Yi felt that he should thank that idiot. Otherwise, how could Wei Shinjin and Shang Wani develop so smoothly? When we arrive at the North Island, of course I will be the host. Don't worry and follow me. I will definitely impress you. Lin Yi said with a smile. Then he went out and led them to the deck. When the ancient battleship docked, Lin Yi was the first to leave. As the honorary vice captain, he had this little privilege. Boss, where are we going now? Wei Shinjin ran behind Lin Yi with Shang Yuhua and asked casually. Lin Yi said without looking back, of course, Blue Cloud Pavilion. Come with me. Let's go to see if the place I used to live is still there. When I left for a while last time, there was an idiot who took my house and dared to touch my friend. This time it should be gone, right? Who is so bold to provoke you, boss? He is so bold. Wei Shinjin sighed. It was estimated that the guy would not have a good end in the end. It was okay for him to take Lin Yi's house. With Lin Yi's temperament, he would not care about it. But if he touched his friend, he was definitely looking for death. After following Lin Yi for so long, Wei Shinjin certainly knew how protective Lin Yi was. He would never allow outsiders to bully anyone who followed him. This was also one of the main reasons why Wei Shinjin was now so loyal to Lin Yi. Lin Yi smiled faintly and did not say much. The new player King Horse Spear seemed to be a distant memory. If he did not mention it casually, he would probably have forgotten about it. Lin Yi naturally would not waste too much time thinking about this kind of person. His thoughts had already turned to Shanghai Laner. He wanted to go to Blue Cloud Pavilion first and then go to Soaring Pavilion to find Shanghai Laner. Although they had only been separated for a few days, Lin Yi was still very happy to be able to see Lan. As he thought about it, he had already extended his divine sense. With the strength of Lin Yi's current divine sense, although it could not cover the entire North Island, it was not a problem to extend it from the port to Blue Cloud Pavilion. To Lin Yi's surprise, there were a lot of people gathered at the entrance of Blue Cloud Pavilion. He basically knew the few people in the middle. Xiao Ran, Xiao Hongkai and Lu Bianren were his close friends. There were also Su Lingchong and Meng Tong, 2 old rivals, and another middle-aged man he did not know. Shopkeeper Su, don't worry. I will definitely give you an explanation for this matter. Lin Yi had not arrived yet, but his divine sense could truthfully feed back everything that happened over there. This sentence was said to Su Lingchong by the middle-aged man he did not know. Su Lingchong snorted, his face full of arrogance. He looked coldly at Xiao Ran and the other two and did not mean to speak. The middle-aged man turned his head and stopped smiling. He said to Xiao Ran coldly, Xiao Ran, you stole something from the Central Chamber of Commerce. Now they have come to find you. What else do you have to say? You have completely disgraced Blue Cloud Pavilion. Quickly admit your guilt and make a good apology. Maybe Blue Cloud Pavilion can still give you a place. Otherwise, go back to where you came from. Lu Bianren said indignantly, eldest senior brother, how can you be so partial to outsiders? You didn't even investigate and directly insisted that it was Xiao Ran who stole it? Could it be that the disciples of Blue Cloud Pavilion don't even have this little bit of backbone? The middle-aged eldest senior brother's eyebrows twitched slightly. He did not know whether Lu Bianren was saying that Xiao Ran had no backbone or that he had no backbone. In any case, no matter which one it was, it made him unhappy. Lin Yi secretly felt strange. Why is the eldest senior brother not Jia Mufan? Where did this guy come from? Speaking of which, Lin Yi still had a good impression of Jia Mufan. This eldest senior brother who was in charge of issuing missions had taken care of Lin Yi. Now that he heard that Jia Mufan's eldest senior brother position had been taken away, it was inevitable for him to feel a little sad. The problem was that Jia Mufan was no longer the eldest senior brother in charge of the inner sect. Why didn't Lu Bianren get the position? What did this guy who came out of nowhere rely on? Su Lingchong glanced at Lu Bianren disdainfully and said, "Our Central Chamber of Commerce's selfie cameras have a unique serial number. The serial number on your camera is the one that our Central Chamber of Commerce lost. Take a look if you don't believe me." He extended his finger and pointed at the serial number on the selfie camera. Then Meng Tong took out a printed book. After flipping it open, he pointed at an underlined serial number and read it out. Then he compared it. Sure enough, the two sets of serial numbers were exactly the same. Moreover, this set of serial numbers was continuous with the serial numbers on the front and back of the book. It looked like it really belonged to the Central Chamber of Commerce. After seeing it, Xiao Ran was speechless. He did not know how to explain it. Chapter 58-43. Genius 1 second. Remember love go away? Talk net, providing you with wonderful novels to read. Xiao Hongkai was furious. He had been holding it in for a long time and was about to explode. Fortunately, he was pulled back by Xiao Ran and advised in a low voice, "Junior brother Xiao, don't be impulsive. You won't be able to help. Hurry up and inform senior brother Ku, let him think of a way." Lu Bianren smiled bitterly and didn't say anything. He didn't know what to do. Asking for trouble was also the same. Xiao Ran was just trying to divert Xiao Hongsai's attention. The few of them could be considered to be gentlemen, and as the saying goes, a gentleman can be deceived with methods. Su Lingchong and the others had precisely calculated that they were comparatively weaker in this aspect, and that was why they were so confident and in the right. If it was a slightly more shameless person, not to mention that he didn't steal anything, even if he really did steal something, he would still be able to completely deny it, causing them to be helpless. The middle-aged big senior brother sneered and said, "Are you counting on the Welcome Pavilion's trouble to save you? Then you're thinking too highly of him. If he had this ability, would he still be a trouble?" Su Lingchong and Meng Tong laughed evilly. The surrounding disciples were angry but didn't dare to say anything. However, there were also not many who agreed with them. The middle-aged big senior brother turned his head and said to Su Lingchong with a face full of smiles, "Shopkeeper Su, I'm really sorry about this matter. Blue Cloud Pavilion has such a shameful thing. It's also caused you trouble. Come, please take him away. Today I'll clean up the sect." Xiao Ran sneered and said, "It's really shameful to have someone like you as the inner disciple of Blue Cloud Pavilion's big senior brother. If my boss was here, how could a clown like you have the chance to jump around?" Meng Tong snorted coldly and reached out to grab Xiao Ran. At this moment, a voice that hadn't been heard for a long time came from outside the crowd. "What's going on? Are you blocking the door? Is entry and exit prohibited today?" Xiao Ran, Xiao Hongkai, and Lu Bianren's eyes lit up. They had just mentioned Lin Yi, and Lin Yi was already here? Did it have to be so magical? As for Meng Tong, who was reaching out to grab Xiao Ran, his palm also paused in midair before he slowly retracted it. Senior brother Lin is back." The disciples at the periphery immediately cried out in surprise when they saw who it was. In Blue Cloud Pavilion, Lin Yi was definitely a legendary figure. Those who didn't know about Lin Yi were probably the new disciples who had joined in the past 2 years. However, no matter where they went, they would hear about Lin Yi's legend. Therefore, they had subconsciously become loyal fans of Lin Yi. When they heard someone call him Senior Brother Lin, they immediately knew who it was. Su Lingchong's expression was somewhat ugly. He also didn't expect that Lin Yi would suddenly appear at this place. However, he immediately understood that Lin Yi had probably returned by an ancient warship. It was really a miscalculation. "Boss." Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai were extremely surprised. They no longer paid attention to Su Lingchong and the others. They broke through the encirclement and walked towards Lin Yi. Su Lingchong and Meng Tong didn't stop them because of Lin Yi's sudden appearance. "Long time no see. Are all of you all right?" Lin Yi smiled and greeted them. Then he cupped his fists towards Lu Bianren and said, "Senior brother Lu, thank you for taking care of my brothers when I wasn't around." Lu Bianren cupped his fists and said with a bitter smile, "Junior brother Lin is too serious. It's good that you were able to return. My strength is low and I couldn't help much. Senior brother Lu has already helped." Lin Yi waved his hand and said solemnly, "If it wasn't for senior brother Lu's care, I'm afraid that these brothers of mine would have been trampled on by others." Xiao Ran lowered his head and said in shame, "Boss, we're useless. We've embarrassed you. Today's matter was deliberately caused by them. Su Lingchong and Meng Tong wanted to target me. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, I know what happened just now. Tell me, where did you get your things? If it was bought from the Central Chamber of Commerce, it was estimated that Su Lingchong would not come to find trouble so blatantly. There must be something fishy about it. Xiao Ran said in a low voice, the Central Chamber of Commerce is too expensive. I bought it from a disciple of Soaring Pavilion. He specializes in selling some things from the secular world. It is said that he has a way in the Central Chamber of Commerce and can get goods at a low price. Many disciples of the 3 pavilions in the North Island like to buy high-tech products from him. Lin Yi snorted coldly. The disciple of Soaring Pavilion could get goods at a low price. Naturally, he had the background of the Central Chamber of Commerce. Xiao Ran buying things from such a person was simply giving people a handle. If Su Lingchong and the others wanted to find trouble, they could come at any time. Perhaps this was a plan to target Lin Yi's underlings. If no one fell for it, they'd just be getting rid of a batch of products from the common world at a low price. Compared to the cost price, the low price here was already a huge profit, and it wouldn't be a loss to the merchant group at all. If someone fell for it like Xiao Ran, Su Lingchong and the others would be able to come looking for trouble openly. You're from the secular world. It's not like you haven't seen these things. What's more, you're a man. What's the use of this kind of camera? Do you want to take selfies and refresh your circle of friends? Lin Yi reprimanded in a low voice. He could scold his people, but he would never tolerate Su Lingchong and the others to bully them. He had to get revenge immediately. Xiao Ran's face turned red from Lin Yi's words, but he didn't refute it. He really didn't know what to say. Xiao Hongkai, who was at the side, came over and whispered to Lin Yi, Boss, Xiao Ran didn't want this camera for himself. He fell in love with a female disciple of Soaring Pavilion. Recently he has been pursuing her. I heard that the junior sister is very fond of technological products. It just so happens that it's her birthday soon, so this guy wants to buy a camera for her as a birthday present. Lin Yi suddenly understood. It turned out that this brat Xiao Ran had also begun to understand. He wanted to pursue a girl. This was something that needed encouragement. When Wei Xinjin and Shang Yuhua, who were behind Lin Yi, heard these words, they also looked at each other and smiled. They had a better impression of Xiao Ran, whom they had just met for the first time. People who had just fallen in love always hoped that everyone around them could be as happy as they were. Su Lingchong walked over with Meng Tong and the middle-aged senior brother. He sneered and said, Lin Yi, you're not dead yet? But it doesn't matter whether you're dead or not. Now that you're caught red-handed, you have to go with me. Otherwise, I'll represent the Central Chamber of Commerce to sue you to the 3 pavilions of the North Island. If you're smart, stand aside. I'll deal with you later. Chapter 58-44. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go? To provide you with wonderful novels to read. After getting rid of Xiao Ran and installing his own men as the second senior brother in charge of the Blue Cloud Pavilion's outer sanctum, his next target might be Lu Bianren or Bitter Guy. After understanding these twists and turns, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't let Su Lingchong go just like that. He immediately laughed mockingly and said, If you want to settle the score with me, why wait until we turn back? Let's properly calculate it now. You owe me and I should collect some interest. Su Lingchong laughed and said, You pretentious head, you really don't forget to pretentious no matter where you go. Do you think that after leaving for 2 years, you still have the final say here? Fine, today I'll see how you're going to collect interest from this young master. Meng Tong smiled sinisterly and said, Lin Yi, let's not talk about other things first. Xiao Ran stole the Central Chamber of Commerce's goods, and now he's caught with the stolen goods. If you don't hand him over to us, perhaps the people from the law enforcement hall will be happy to come and take him away. Caught with the stolen goods? Are you joking? Lin Yi snorted and stretched out his finger to point at the printed booklet in Meng Tong's hand and said, This kind of thing, as long as you have a computer and a printer, you can have as many as you want. You know the serial number of Xiao Ran's camera, so you can say that this camera is yours? I also know that one of you is called Su Lingchong and the other is called Meng Tong. Could it be that the 2 of you are spiritual beasts that I've raised? Su Lingchong said angrily, Lin Yi, stop twisting words and distorting the truth. How can knowing the name and knowing the serial number be the same thing? Lin Yi spread out his hands and looked at Su Lingchong and said, Why don't you tell me what's different about it? Su Lingchong suddenly became sluggish. He was usually very quick-witted, but when it came to Lin Yi, he became hot-headed and actually choked. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't think of how to answer. The middle-aged eldest senior brother shouted, How dare you? Linny, don't pester endlessly here. You're throwing away the face of Blue Cloud Pavilion. Hurry up and move to the side, otherwise, you will be punished according to the sect rules. Linny cast a sidelong glance at this guy and lightly said, "Who the hell are you? Could it be that you're not afraid that I'll take you as my spiritual beast just because I don't know your name?" The middle-aged eldest senior brother almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He thought to himself, when did I ever fear you taking me in as a spiritual beast? Do you think I'm afraid of you? No. You're the spirit beast. This fellow was also a little muddle-headed from anger. In his heart, he still hadn't figured out which point in Lin Yi's words he was angry about. Su Lingchong was so angry that he laughed and said, "Lin Yi, don't be too arrogant. Do you think I'll be afraid of you now? To tell you the truth, this is the entrance of Blue Cloud Pavilion, so I don't want to bother with you. But if you don't know what's good for you, I'll kill you anytime. I don't believe that when this young master is in the right, Blue Cloud Pavilion will still stand up for you." Meng Tong also sneered and said, "Why are you talking nonsense with him? Just kill him. Who asked him to hinder us from catching the thief?" The strength of these two guys had already reached the great perfection of nascent soul stage. It could even be said that they were half a step into the profound ascension stage. They only needed to wait for the center to develop a stable profound ascension stage potion, then they would be able to improve immediately. Therefore, when facing Lin Yi, Su Lingchong and Meng Tong could be said to be very confident. In their minds, no matter how strong Lin Yi was, it was impossible for him to improve faster than them. What's more, when the two of them joined forces, an ordinary early-stage profound ascension stage cultivator or even a peak early-stage profound ascension stage cultivator might not be their opponent. What else did they have to worry about? Xiaoran couldn't help but interject. "Do you really think you're so awesome? Don't you know that if you're not careful, you'll become an idiot?" Su Lingchong was too lazy to care about Xiaoran now. In his eyes, only Lin Yi was his opponent. Xiaoran? When Lin Yi hadn't returned, he could still pass the time. Since Lin Yi was back, this kind of small character was nothing. Meng Tong and Su Lingchong were now telepathic. They immediately gave a look to the middle-aged big senior brother on the side, signaling him to take down Xiaoran. The middle-aged big senior brother immediately understood and took a step forward. "Xiaoran, I'm now using my identity as the big senior brother in charge of the inner sect to order you to surrender immediately and go with shopkeeper Su to the Central Chamber of Commerce to cooperate with the investigation. If you disobey again, I will report to the Pavilion Master and you will be directly expelled from Blue Cloud Pavilion." So impressive, Blue Cloud Pavilion is opened by your family? You can expel people just because you say so? Lin Yi glanced at him disdainfully, then turned to Su Lingchong and said, "You rely on this kind of idiocy to deal with my brother? Sure enough, birds of a feather flock together, you're all jackals of the same tribe." Su Lingchong snickered coldly and said to the middle-aged eldest senior apprentice brother, "Senior apprentice brother Wang, it seems like your Clear Cloud Pavilion's people are not very obedient. Why don't you stay out of this and let us handle this matter ourselves?" Senior brother Wang said angrily, "Lin Yi, who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like this? Do you know who you are? You're just a has-been newcomer king and you think you can do whatever you want in Blue Cloud Pavilion? Hurry up and scram to the side, there's no place for you to speak here." Lin Yi smiled slightly, then glared at him and said, "Who do you think you are? I already said I don't know you, why are you still blindly interfering here? Even if you want to play dirty, you shouldn't play like this." Senior brother Wang was immediately angry, but he was still thinking that he didn't use his sword, so what did Lin Yi mean? Could it be some kind of secret code? Seeing that the one surnamed Wang didn't say anything else, Lin Yi turned his head and said to Su Lingchong, "All right, what exactly is going on? All of us are clear in our hearts. I just came back and can't be bothered to waste time with you. Hurry up and scram, lest you guys blame me for not warning you when you're unlucky." "I pretentious boss, your pretentious act is indeed first-rate, you really nearly scared me. Too bad this young master isn't someone who grows up being scared, today's matter isn't over." Su Lingchong thought that he definitely had Lin Yi in the bag, so he said with a cold smile while thinking about how to incite that senior brother Wang to make a move to deal with Lin Yi, and then he would sit back and reap the benefits. "You must be looking for a beating, I can't do anything about it either." Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders with a helpless expression, then pointed at Su Lingchong and said, "All right then, you stole my medicinal pills, don't you have to give me an explanation today?" Su Lingchong was stunned, then burst into laughter. "Lin Yi, are you at your wits' end here? Originally, I thought that you were just pestering endlessly. I didn't think that you even know how to make irresponsible remarks. This young master, the dignified Central Chamber of Commerce's shopkeeper, would steal your medicinal pills? Chapter 58-45. Genius 1 second. Remember love go away? To provide you with wonderful novels to read. Su Ling Chong naturally didn't believe it, but he still subconsciously reached out his hand to touch it. Then his expression froze. This cloth bag was originally used to store some spirit jade cards and some spirit jade fragments, and there was nothing else inside. But now that he touched it, there was actually a medicinal pill inside. What the hell? Of course not. Su Ling Chong wasn't an idiot. How could he not know that this was Lin Yi's doing? The only thing that chilled his heart was how exactly did Lin Yi do it? He didn't even notice it in the slightest. If this was the case, wouldn't it mean that if Lin Yi wanted to kill him, he wouldn't have noticed it at all? What, you don't dare to take it out to sea? Isn't this considered as catching the culprit red-handed? Lin Yi looked at Su Ling Chong with a smile that wasn't a smile. He wasn't worried that Su Ling Chong would secretly destroy the medicinal pill. Su Ling Chong said with a gloomy face, "You're framing me. Anyone with discerning eyes can see what you've done." Lin Yi shrugged and didn't have any intention of denying it. Likewise. I only used your methods on yourself, so we have a tacit understanding. I'll give you the medicinal pill, and this matter is considered even. Now can you get lost? Su Ling Chong took out the medicinal pill and almost vomited blood when he saw it. This was just King first grade yellow level small rejuvenation pill. On the heavenly stage island, even dogs wouldn't eat it if it was thrown out. This bastard Lin Yi actually said that he stole this kind of thing? Didn't that mean that he was even inferior to a dog? Lin Yi, that's enough. Would this young master steal for such a trash small rejuvenation pill? Even if you want to frame me, at least put in some capital, right? You want to exchange my camera for a small rejuvenation pill? Stop joking. Su Ling Chong screamed angrily. He didn't know if it was because Lin Yi wanted to use medicinal pills to settle this matter, or because the medicinal pill that Lin Yi took out was only a small rejuvenation pill. Lin Yi's face darkened as he said, "Su Ling Chong, don't be ungrateful when I give you face. I just came back this time and I'm in a good mood, so I don't want to hit you. If you continue to be so ungrateful, don't blame me for being impolite." Su Ling Chong sneered in his heart. Who's afraid of who? However, now that he had a ready-made spear user, he naturally didn't need to do it himself. "Senior Brother Wang, not only are you people from Blue Cloud Pavilion disobedient, but you also want to beat up the manager of the Central Chamber of Commerce in front of the Blue Cloud Pavilion. How impressive. Looks like the day when Blue Cloud Pavilion replaces the Soaring Sky Pavilion isn't far." Su Ling Chong swept away his previous angry expression and said to Senior Brother Wang in a neutral tone. Lin Yi admired this guy a little. He didn't expect his face-changing skills to be so good. It was a pity that he didn't go to the secular world to be an actor. Senior Brother Wang had long been unhappy with Lin Yi. Hearing Su Ling Chong's words, he once again took a step forward. His body trembled slightly and he revealed all of his aura. He was actually an expert at the early stage of the profound ascension stage. Lin Yi was also taken aback. It wasn't that this guy's strength had any effect on him, but he didn't expect that a senior brother in charge of the Blue Cloud Pavilion would actually have the cultivation of the profound ascension stage. In Middle Island, this kind of strength was already enough to hold the position of Vice Island Master. Xiao Ran, Xiao Hongkai and the others' faces all changed. They all knew that Senior Brother Wang was very strong, but they didn't expect him to be strong to such an extent. The early stage of the profound ascension stage was indeed beyond their imagination. Senior Brother Wang grinned and said, "Lin Yi, you idiot who likes to act cool, continue acting. I want to see how you can continue acting. I told you to scram just now but you didn't. Even if you want to scram now, it's too late." Lin Yi put away the surprised expression on his face. Of course, in their eyes, it was an expression of fear, but it didn't matter. Anyway, it was clear who would be scared below. "Love go, small say, Neku, this is the last warning, don't challenge my patience. If you don't believe me, you can try it." Lin Yi said calmly, but in the eyes of Su Ling Chong and the others, it was obvious that he had a guilty conscience. The pretentious leader is still continuing to act. As expected of the pretentious leader. "Senior Brother Wang, I think it's better if you don't challenge people's patience. Otherwise, such a perfect performance will be greatly discounted," Su Ling Chong said with a strange smile. On one hand he was mocking Lin Yi, and on the other hand he was adding fuel to the fire in Senior Brother Wang's heart. Sure enough, Senior Brother Wang coldly snorted and said, "I really don't believe it today. Challenge your patience? I will let you see the stars in the sky. Before his voice fell, Senior Brother Wang's aura was raised to the limit. With a wave of his palm, a powerful chi that could topple mountains and overturn the seas rushed towards Lin Yi. However, even though he made a move, he still felt that something was wrong, as if he had overlooked something. Without waiting for Senior Brother Wang to understand, his attack had already arrived in front of Lin Yi. However, Lin Yi did not have the slightest intention of dodging, and looking at his appearance, there was no expression of fear. Facing the attack of the early stage Profound Ascension, Lin Yi just waved his hand, as if he was chasing away an insignificant fly. Then, Senior Brother Wang felt that his attack was like a clay ox entering the sea, and there was no longer the slightest connection. How is this possible? Senior Brother Wang cried out involuntarily. Then he suddenly understood what was going on with that uneasy feeling just now. Under the pressure of his early stage Profound Ascension aura, Lin Yi did not make any movements to resist, but he was not affected at all. Not only Lin Yi but even Xiao Ran, Xiao Hongkai and the other disciples of Blue Cloud Pavilion behind him were the same. It was as if the pressure of the early stage Profound Ascension aura was just a breeze blowing on his face. Could a person who was inferior to him do this? Could a person who had the same strength as him do this? It couldn't be. Therefore, the strength of this bastard Lin Yi far exceeded him, and he actually only understood at this time. Too late, everything was too late. When Wang Shixiang came back to his senses, Lin Yi had already made his move. He didn't do it too bloody, he just used the murderous aura of the 5 elements to invade this idiot's body, completely destroying his Dantian's Qi and all the meridians in his body. From now on, this great master of the early stage of mystic ascension would be worse than an ordinary person who had never cultivated before. To be honest, this kind of result for a cultivator was simply worse than death. Lin Yi also hated this fellow surnamed Wang for betraying him. Together with Su Lingchong, they went against his fellow disciples of Blue Cloud Pavilion, and they were all his brothers and friends, so he did not show any mercy. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.